solid.
Hello. Hello, everyone. Hello. Good morning. Good morning to everyone. Bonjour, comment ça va? Bonjour à tout le monde et merci euh, de participer à mon live. Merci beaucoup. Je vous adore. Installez-vous. Ça va être chaud aujourd'hui. Aujourd'hui, je vais parler de l'éducation. Ah, oh, my shirt is lopsided. Hmm, I don't know. What's behind me? Oh, my board. Let me put that away. Oh, this light is too bright. I know. Oh, is that better? There's someone here. Who is here? Say hi so that I can know who is here. But anyway, good morning and thank you for being here. This is too bright. I am up in my attic. That's where my office is. And it's kind of dark. It's kind of a dark day today. The sky is not bright. Um, it's rainy a little bit, so the weather is kind of like gloomy. That's why my lighting is not good. I have to turn this on. And this light is like red. But anyway, hi to the person that's here. And like I said earlier, thank you for being here. Today I want to speak about like the African parenting style and what need to change. I'm gonna bring up a video that I came across. It's a very good video. This guy, oh my God, we need more people like this in our community. I feel like everyone is on YouTube trying to speak on their community and trying to not only criticize but like trying to offer some type of advice or maybe just let him create awareness of the things that supposed to change in the culture except African people. We are the only group of people that accept things just the way they are and just want to maintain things just the way they are. Everyone, every community here on YouTube, around the social media, um, I go around, I see people exposing their whatever is going on in their community and talk about it. I don't know why we make a big deal out of like just almost nothing. Let me bring up this video. I really like it. Okay, parenting. I'm gonna share my screen. My screen, I mean to say. Let me get the video up here. This guy, he really laid things out the way I see it. The way I see it. Funky. Parenting. I had a stream, I believe back some weeks back, I believe some months even, where I was talking about Nigerians people not being the smartest people, smartest group of immigrants in the United States. And some Nigerians got offended as usual. I don't even care. So I think they don't understand. They did not understand what I was talking about. As usual, they got caught into the emotion, and that's the only thing they could care about. So this guy, it's a Nigerian. I don't know, is a scholar or what, or a teacher or whatever he is, but he did a good analysis, and he did a good job researching and coming up with what I was trying to say. Maybe I did not have the right word. I did not know how to convey it very efficiently for people to understand it. But this Nigerian guy did a wonderful job explaining it. So I'm gonna share my screen, and we're gonna all see what he's saying and what he's talking about. Let me see. Share screen. Hmm. Window. Where is it? Okay, there we go. So it's this lady's channel. I don't even know her. Someone sent this video to me because the person knows what I talk about. The person knows my viewpoint on Africa and African issue. I speak about this to everyone around me, so they know where I stand. So one of my friends came across this video and she decided to send it to me. I'm like, wow, you got me. You understand me.
To come back again, I do not take it for granted at all. Thanks so much for all you've invested in us over the years, over 20 years. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
That's how respectful African people are. The way he thanks this lady is just so genuine. Yeah. But our sense of respect is rooted into fear. I don't like that part of it. I wish we were just respectful and that's it. But it's almost sometimes as if we're trying to do too much. Like we are very complacent people.
So welcome. We thank God for your wife that has that.
Yeah.
You know, I also keep saying that in the olden days and all that. So we're parents and we're here and we want to learn. Please, someone is asking, how do I share this? We're telling them to share the link. Please reply. God bless you, the team.
I live in Dallas, Texas, and when I moved to the US, that was the first thing I started doing because I started asking questions, I started looking at data, and I was quite shocked at the things I realized. And I compared to other people, like the Indians, the Jews, and the Japanese and the Chinese, what I saw was totally off the hook, and it blew my mind. And I began to make a conscious effort to begin to teach our people on the concept of parenting because we have not been properly taught on the systems behind parenting. What has happened consistently over the years is our parenting has been very emotional, and emotional in the sense that some of us turned out very well. It's by miracle. You know, there was nothing to say that this was the format, this was the precept, these were the templates, these are the frameworks that was utilized. You know, God just helped us. And we cannot do that with the younger generation because we're dealing with a completely different generation that is called Generation Z and Generation Alpha. So I am going to be sharing with you what I think will help you within the time frame that I have. Again, as usual,
I don't think God has anything to do with what he's saying. He's saying that we turns out. I don't even think that we turns out good, to be honest with you guys. If we had turned out to be what we were destined to be, Africa would not be the way it is. Nothing. I don't know what you're talking about, but We did not turn out to be anything. I think all of us, we are fooled. We've been fooled to believe certain things that is not true, and we continue. Um, uh, we are perpetuating the alienation, and we are kind of like passing it down to our own children without even realizing. So really, this guy saying that some of us who turned out right was by miracle of God. I don't think we did not turn out right. To be honest, it's just maybe the 0.01%.
Put
But
it in
anyway,
slides so that it's easy for you to follow me, and it becomes you can actually take notes and make your jottings. Okay, good. Thank you very much, my admin. So I've titled this Alpha Code Parenting: The Science of Scripting a Supreme Child. Now, why did I say it's a science? You say 1 + 1 is equal to 2. 2 + 2 is equal to 4. If your 1 + 1 is equal to 5 in Nigeria, then something is wrong. That within the framework of science, it says that if you do A + B + C, it will produce this result. Now, what many of us have done consistently is that we have no framework, and what we expect to happen is that our child is just going to turn out right. And that is why if you bring a child to this world and you hire every prayer warrior to pray for the child, and may you turn out right. If you now consistently shout on the child, slap the child, tell the child you will not prosper, yet you have prayer warriors. I mean, you manhandle the child is not going to turn out right. And so if we understand the framework behind effective parenting, then I believe that we will continually produce leaders who understand what it takes to produce a nation that we all desire to have. Look across Africa. I mean, I took a trip across Africa about 3 years ago, did an analysis of the parenting system of almost every nation in Africa. It brought tears to my eyes because I understood for the first time why our leadership is the way it is and why it would seem as if our continent is the way it is. Now, if you notice, for those of you who live in the diaspora, compared to other groups in the world, you notice that the group that struggle to collaborate to do anything together are Africans. As a matter of fact, we would rather kill our own than ensure that they succeed. So where I come from,
yeah, African millennial, that is so. Do you know why it's like that? I don't know if you understand why it's like that. These African parents are the most like materialistic people on earth, to be honest with you. They want to be friends with you when you marry and gone, because they know only at that time you can be like a provider to them. So it's not even out of love, to be honest with you guys. Our parents are very short-sighted as usual. That's why we grow up ourselves. We grow up and become short-sighted adults, because we did not have the proper teaching that was needed to kind of like open our viewpoint and help us look at the world on a larger scale. And that's why you can even see, even among ourselves, when we're having discussion on this platform, you will see how each person will always argue about what they know. They don't want to go outside of what they know, or outside of their experience. Somebody like what's St. James? Oh my God, that guy kills me. St. James and Mike. No, they are very intelligent, don't? But the intelligence is still in the mold. Is very like they don't know how to get outside themselves and see things see the bigger picture. That's what I'm trying to say. They do not see the bigger picture, and that's the issue in Africa. An African person will sit there, go to war about their family and their tribes, but they have no other idea on how to make things work. on a larger scale, on a national scale. They don't see that. Mike's come here on YouTube every day saying that, oh, my village wasn't colonized. So what? If the British took over your country, huh? They don't need to go and take over have a representation in every single village for Nigeria to be considered colonized country. So the guy cannot grasp the concept because he's only thinking about his small village, himself. Oh, I'm doing good. Oh, this. They don't see beyond themselves. And that's the thing in Africa. Our parents are like that. They don't teach you. They don't teach you how to analyze, how to criticize, how to critics, how to like. They do not. They just like basically you become almost as if you are the competition, basically.
You have an addict that says, if another person's own does not spoil, your own cannot be good. And for years, we repeated that adage, which means that if Pastor Funke is going up, it pays me to pull her down than to strengthen her. Now, if you cannot trace that to our parenting, then I'm going to share with you where all these things is coming from, because these are all functions of parenting. Now, the first thing I want us to do is a prayer I usually pray whenever I run a parenting session. And I want you all to join me wherever you are to pray this prayer. Now, so 1 to go. I am a worthy parent, and I understand my role in raising saviors who
I don't care about the prayer.
I rise from every failure and live above every follow, but the custom that will produce the best version of him. That your first assignment is your capacity to observe and identify your child. Now, many of us struggle to do that.
They don't do that.
We do not know.
Our parents don't do that. Not at all. We grow up in an African household where you are compelled every single time to order to your siblings, to your cousins, to order to the child down the street, to the neighbor's child. Even right now, as you are in the university or you are in a high school, your parents still compare you to other children. They don't understand that this creates a low self-esteem in you. That is a way to break the child. You don't take the time to honor and help that child understand who he is and the unique aspect of his personality. It's okay for him to be who he is. He doesn't have to be the best scientist or the best, I don't know, mathematician like your neighbors or your friend's child. African parents spend the whole time comparing their children to other people's children. And they think it's a good thing.
The most powerful force on earth is the force of parenting, because the life of a human being is literally in your hand. So when you were born, your parents did not consult you before they gave you a name. They gave you a name that befitted them. They didn't consult you. They did not consult you before they put you in a school. Now they did not understand the impact of the school they put you in, the belief system of the teachers they allow to teach you, the children that sat beside you. All of them is what has produced this version of you. Now, when you understand the framework behind systems intelligence and producing a child, I think Africa will begin to produce giants who will stand their ground everywhere they go.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm so passionate about tonight, because I believe.
Exactly, sir. Exactly. African people haven't understood that. Our African parents are so happy to just let their children assimilate for the name of modernity, because our own parents has low self-esteem. These people are not people that were brought up in pride. They were brought up by their own parents that inherited a lot from colonization, that low self-esteem, that thinking that they're less than the rest of the world. That's why in Africa, foreigners are worshipped. Foreigners are viewed as superior. It doesn't even matter if you're Chinese, it can even be like Indian. They worship anybody else than themselves, because we haven't taken the time to really explore who we are and find our strength and help our children understand that they are enough. They don't need to be like no one else. And we expose our children to anything, and they adopt and they adapt and they assimilate, and they become somebody that they are not, and they will never excel trying to be somebody else. You can only excel when you are your real authentic self. Someone asked me on what's his name again? Oh my god, I'm so bad with names. Diners. I was on Diners show the other day, and this guy, we were talking about spirituality, African spirituality versus Christianity or whatever. And I was telling him that I came to realization that Christianity was a scam and all that. And this guy was telling me that, okay, now that you turn towards African spirituality, what has that done for you? I was baffled. I'm like, African spirituality made me feel so proud of myself, to be honest with you. It's not even like a practice, because I don't even know what I'm supposed to be doing. But just the fact of realizing that Christianity was something that was just like imposed on us and just passed down, and they just raise you in an environment where you don't question anything. If you want to question something, it's a problem. And he's like, so what is it doing for you? I'm like, what is Christianity doing for Africans? If it's not dividing people, go on the ground, the local, they're all divided, they're all fighting. Or if you're not in this, if you're not in my church, you're against me. They only get along with people that are from their church. How is that helping Africa? No, we don't need none of that. You can even grow up like atheist and do very well in life. You don't need to necessarily like.
And I prayed deeply that God will begin a revival in our parenting in Africa using this platform. Now, if you look around the world, there is a movement. I don't know if you have observed it. America was talking about American force during Donald Trump. Japanese talks about Japanese perfection, right? To say that if you buy a Japanese car, you know what to expect. Now, if I've studied Japanese parenting, and it's interesting to note that Japan has a structure around their parenting. As a matter of fact, when you say you're a Japanese, it actually means about 6 things. There are national values that they carry. And that's why they will tell you that one of the most respectful races in the world are the Japanese. They say thank you, even to street lights. They say thank you to ATM machine. They are so cautious. If you go and eat in their restaurant, you will see them pack your plates to wash for you, right? Despite paying their money. If they go and play a soccer match, you will see them clean up the stadium. They are not trying to impress you. That's who they are, and that's the way they are framed. And their parenting system is built on that, and their educational system is built on that. Jews talk about chosen Jewish. Now, a lot of people don't understand the way Jews raise their children, and that's where I have a challenge. You know, when we give birth to a child in Africa, we do child dedication. Where did we get child dedication from? We got it from the Jews. Now, Jews do child dedication, but Jews don't do just child dedication. Jews have a curriculum that is 14-year in nature. That curriculum, every Jewish parent knows it. Now, that's the framework for raising a child. It terminates at the festival when you're 14 called Bat Mitzvah, which means you put your hands on your child and you say, this is my beloved child in whom I'm well pleased. We copied the ceremony. We did not copy the curriculum. And that is why consistently you could literally tell who a Jewish child is going to become because the framework is clear and it includes mentoring. Now, Kami talks about authentic German. Even LGBT talks about destructive LGBT because LGBT is not just another group. LGBT is any group you see that has an anthem, that has a national flag, is actually a nation, right? Enterprising Indian. If you check many of the Fortune 500 companies, many of them have an Indian CEO. It is not by happenstance. It was intentionally scripted. Many years ago, about 2 years ago, actually, not many years ago, myself and my wife wanted to move house in Canada, Brampton. In fact, I went to Brampton for Christmas, and I didn't see so many Christmas lights. And I was wondering, are you guys not doing Christmas? And my wife reminded me that, it's Indians who are very, very, who live here. But we checked about 50 different houses in a bid to move a house. But there was an house that struck me that was very interesting. we saw about 11 families living in that house, right? And we were shocked. In fact, I saw bed in the sitting room, I saw bed in the bedroom, I saw bed in the kitchen, everywhere. Now, I wanted to find out why they were moving. And so I researched a little bit, and they told us that they were leaving because when they got to Canada, they felt it was inappropriate for each family to go and rent a house for $2,700. So they decided to stay in the same house, and they told themselves that until the last family gets their third house, they will not move apart. So the last family out of the 11 has just bought their third house, which means each family had three houses. So that was why they were moving apart. Now they were moving apart to go and replicate the same model for the other Indians who were just coming in. Now, I decided to research a little bit to say, how are they able to do this when two Africans cannot even stay in the same house together and share things? Then it dawned on me that there's a concept called fraternity. Fraternity means that, you know, the only place you compete as an Indian is within India. That when you step out of India, you extend the frontiers of India to the rest of the world. So when you step in, you have villages that you step into, so you are able to collaborate. Interesting. Now, there was another story of my friend who was going to buy a house, and the house was $1.something million. And the house was owned by a Jewish girl who was 21 years old. Another word, the word is called domestication. Domestication is the Latin word.
Okay, this is the part that very hit me. And this is the part I always talk about and no one seems to understand. Oh my God. I really get excited when I see someone validating what I have been trying to tell people, and no one want to listen to me because they're just, as usual, what African people do. If you say something that makes them uncomfortable, they will dismiss you right then. They will not listen to you. They will just find other excuses to just. It's just like the Christianity topic I was listening to on the Dennis Meal this morning. A lot of like just trying to say something personal about the other person just to dismiss his viewpoint. It's very sad. So this is the part that really hit me hard, and that I always see, but I just don't know how to help other people see that Africans parents beat things into their children. They beat their children to submission. And that's why it's so hard to see an African person standing up for anything, whether it's male or female. The female end up being even the strongest one, because even in Africa, women are stronger than, mentally stronger than men. The men are physically strong, but when it comes to mental, women are so resilient in Africa. This lady get up in the morning, go to the market, sell stuff, come home, cook, take care of the children. All the men have to do is just to go to work, and give money for food in the house. The rest they don't care. Even when it comes to like education, watching the children, making sure their homework is done and stuff like that. Where the children's been, like just all that is the woman, and they don't have enough credit for that. Until you become an old woman, yeah, they respect you a lot. But until then, when you're young, you can be struggling. Yeah. And our men don't understand that it's a teamwork. A marriage has to be a teamwork. We have to everything that we're doing has to be to contribute to our success, the success of the union. When you get married, you have to forget about yourself. I mean, not forget about yourself, but know that you alone are not the priority anymore. It's us as a family. So this is the part where the Africans' parenting fell, because they beat their children into everything. They don't communicate. They don't teach a child problem-solving skills, how to listen, they do not. They just like impose. It's like tyranny or whatever.
Domesticatus. It means to tame and to clip wings. So every time you say to your child or your parents say to you, I'm going to tame you in this house, I'm going to clip your wing, they are not disciplining you, they are domesticating you. There's a third word called punishment. The word punishment is the Latin word punire. Punire means to inflict pain or to avenge, right? So when you understand that, you ask yourself, what your parents did to you that you call discipline, was it discipline, domestication, or punishment? Now, if you look at the 12 worst countries living in 2020, you find us all over the place. Now, the question I began to ask when I started my research is that why are Indians, Jews, why are Japanese, Chinese, and the Emiratis able to effectively produce a predictable result that Africans have not been able to predict? If you want to know what is happening, you need to just live in diaspora. I mean, I've lived in Canada, I've lived a bit in the UK, and I've lived in the US. It's the same story everywhere I have gone. I've run seminars on parenting across different countries, and when I sit with my people, it's almost the same situation. I was leading a group in leading a conversation in New York, and I saw a lot of young people just came in. They were complaining that the older Africans were not showing them the way. And so I was midwifing the conversation. Guess what the older Africans were saying? They were saying that if the young people don't suffer what they suffer, they will not understand what it means to acquire the wealth they acquired. And I asked, what kind of generation are we that our young people...
Yeah, even myself, I hear this a lot. Even my husband, I have problem with him sometimes. My husband always tell me that I baby the children, I pamper the children. And I'm asking him, like, what do you mean by I pamper the children? I don't think I pamper these children. I think I'm a disciplinarian. I put my foot down when it comes to these boys. And he's like, oh, when they do something wrong, you don't reprimand them severely. I'm like, excuse me, what is that gonna do? Like being severe and trying to scare them? My goal is to make them understand that what they did was wrong. I can achieve the same thing that you will not achieve by your method. You're just gonna like put fear into them. You're just gonna scare them, but that's not gonna be effective. They're gonna be scared of you, huh? But they're not gonna necessarily respect you. But me, I will sit down and talk to you. I will not just from the first time, like you have done something wrong, just go to the extreme for you to understand that you did something wrong. No, I'm not going to do that.
We need to suffer what we suffer. Shouldn't there be an improvement at what we have suffered? They don't have to suffer it. But you see, that is the way we behave in many of the cases. Now, so this is what is happening. The Chinese, the Japanese, the Jews, the Indians, the Arabs, they have a clear agenda to take over the world. The agenda is very clear. So what they do is they spot the potential of a child and educate that child without emotions to become a part of an indispensable race for the world. What we do most times is we raise a child to become independent, to be better than his mates and good-natured, even if it means having others for the rest of his life. So every parent wants to raise a godly child. When I ask them, what is the definition of a godly child? They don't know. They begin to say a godly child is a child who is quiet, who is obedient. Obedient to what? Right? Because you want the child to be obedient to you so that it doesn't argue with you. Right? Not because you are godly, because it takes someone who is godly to raise a godly child. So there are templates when it comes to godliness that we don't even understand. For example, when I ask parents to write out who a godly child is, they will write is loving, is holy, is righteous, is obedient, is doesn't commit sin. Those are the things they write out. Then I ask them, who is a godly child? They say a godly child is a child who looks like God. Then I ask them, can you write the attributes of God? Then they say God is omnipotent, God is omniscient, God is all-knowing, is sovereign. Then I said, why didn't you put omnipresent to a godly child? And they said to me, there's no human being that can be omnipresent. Then I asked them a simple question. Do you know any child on this planet who has innovated anything, created anything that is all over the world? Then they begin to mention Mark Zuckerberg. Then they begin to mention Coca-Cola. That is omnipresent. Then I said to them that you don't even know that your child has the capacity to innovate what can go around the world, means that you are going to damage your child, because your child is like the shark, you are the aquarium. the shark cannot outgrow the aquarium. So in your bid to raise a child, you can be damaging the child. So here is the script. While some people are raising those that will own the world, others are producing those that will serve those who own the world. So we are
yeah, that's Africans. We are raising our children to be the one that serve the world. We are raising our children to be the submissive, the docile, the one that will always go and be the workers, the commodity. That's the type of children that we are raising. That's the type of youth that we have in Africa. We don't have people with the spirit of like changing the world, changing the environment, changing the reality, conquering the world. We're not raising that kind of children. We are raising submissive, obedient, easy to conquer children. Yes, ma. Yes, sir. Yes, ma. Yes, sir. Those are the children that we are raising. This man really spoke my heart, to be honest. These are the type of, like, you can see all that attribute in our men, in our African men. Those are like nobody else. Easy to conquer, easy to persuade, easy to take on anything else, other people's identity, other people's idea, even want to perform more than those people, like some of these Christian Africans.
Comfortable to raise a child, and we pride ourselves, my child is now, a graduate, is a PhD holder, but where is your child going to work? And I say it humorously that if other people are building Fortune 500 companies or unicorns, and our own children, or what we are building African stores, right? By the time our children graduate, we can only hand over what we have built to them. So what are we going to hand over to them? So if the Indians are handing some of the top companies to their children, we're going to hand over African stores. So it still means that they're going to rule us, or our children will go and work for them. Now we need to begin to ask ourselves, are there missing links? Because you cannot outthink yourself. So what I've realized is our worldview sometimes will be very, very narrow. And what we're going to do today is to expand it a little bit so that your child can become the best version of himself. We need to understand that there are scripts we need to flip intentionally. So while others are trying to raise a successful race, we are trying to raise a successful child. A successful race, however, we always rule over an individual. The individual will be subservient to a successful race, which means if you don't learn to collaborate to produce the future, then the people that can collaborate to produce the future will rule over what we are bringing together. Because when it comes to global economics, everybody will bring their products to the market. Moses dropped his rod, it became a serpent. The magicians dropped their rod, it became a serpent. One serpent.
What are we bringing?
Which means if your superior service delivery is present in the market, it will swallow the inferior service delivery. Now, in the diaspora, this is the present reality. It is now a known fact that Nigerians, for example, are the most educated minority in Africa. Now, if we are the most educated minority, the question is, why has our education not translated to power? After all, we say knowledge is power. But you know what I found out? It means that it's a type of knowledge that produces power, not every knowledge. So you can just acquire knowledge and become a professor at nothing and not become powerful, simply because you have not been scripted to believe that you can be powerful. So in my research, I began to realize that the distance between our present reality as African parents and the future of our children is intentional scripting. I was brought to a university in Canada to lead the conversation about the future of African children in North America. And when we were having that conversation, I was making a presentation to them on what my research findings saw. So when people move to different countries, we migrate for safety and better life. Other cultures are migrating as a strategy for occupancy and influence, right? And so when we go to a school abroad, our education is for opportunity and relevance. Their own education is for relevance and indispensability. Now, migration is as a result of threat to humanity for us, because if Africa were good, maybe many of us won't move. But for them, migration is a strategic extension of the frontiers to other places. So you will see Chinatown, you will see Indian town, you will see their gods, you will see everything. They are moving, and that is
what this man is saying is so profound. I wish every African can listen to this. This is so profound, because I think that's the core, the reason why Africans are where they are, because we are not strategic. Like, we are not strategic, and we don't know where we went wrong. This man really bursted the abscess that Africans are continuing growing, but not many people are going to have access to this type of information. Even the future generation, when we're hoping that, oh, Africa is getting better, things not gonna get better if we keep like having that kind of mindset, because we're gonna keep raising and producing the same type of people that has that type of weak-mindedness to just follow and to just like obey and to just fall under other people's guidance or direction. Or we're not producing real soldier for us, for the Africans, because everybody else is doing it.
That's why even when they speak, you could still feel their accent within their English. We move in 1 week and we begin to say, Igona, we begin to say all kinds of things. That is the clearest indicator that something is wrong with our identity. Now, when it comes to agenda, we don't have a visible agenda and coordinating units. They have clarity of agenda broken into coordinating units. What that means is, as an Indian, if I land in...
I think I'm going to repeat this part. This part was like, I don't know. This part is exactly where the thing
servant swallow the other, which means if your superior service delivery is present in the market, it will swallow the inferior service delivery. Now, in the diaspora, this is the present reality. It is now a known fact that Nigerians, for example, are the most educated minority in Africa. Now, if we are the most educated minority, the question is, why has our education not translated to power? After all, we say knowledge is power. But you know what I found out? It means that it's a type of knowledge that produces power, not every knowledge. So you can just acquire knowledge and become a professor at nothing and not become powerful, simply because you have not been scripted to believe that you can be powerful. So in my research, I began to realize that the distance between our present reality as African parents and the future of our children is intentional scripting. I was brought to a university in Canada to lead the conversation about the future of African children in North America. And when we were having that conversation, I was making a presentation to them on what my research findings saw. So when people move to different countries, we migrate for safety and better life. Other cultures are migrating as a strategy for occupancy and influence, right? And so when we go to a school abroad, our education is for opportunity and relevance. Their own education is for relevance and indispensability. Now, migration is as a result of threat to humanity for us, because if Africa were good, maybe many of us won't move. But for them, migration is a strategic extension of the frontiers to other places. So you will see Chinatown, you will see Indian town, you will see their gods, you will see everything. They are moving, and that is why even when they speak, you could still feel their accent within their English. We move in 1 week and we begin to say, we begin to say all kinds of things. That is the clearest indicator that something is wrong with our identity. Now, when it comes to agenda, we don't have a visible agenda and coordinating units. They have clarity of agenda broken into coordinating units. What that means is, as an Indian, if I land in Irving, Texas, where I live, I will find an Indian community somewhere around me, a village I can belong to. Now, as an African, I'm always looking, and thank God, we have to appreciate God for African churches, and maybe like Redeem, that has now made it very easy for some people to land and safe landing and find a succor. Outside of that, you will hardly find a community that can accommodate you. Now, when it comes to parenting, we do individual parenting system with no documented heritage template that can deliver a predictable outcome. They have institutionalized parenting templates with clear national values that govern outcome. I'm a member of Rotary Club here. 2 weeks ago, we went for Rotary meeting, and the Indians came to celebrate a festival they call Diwali. Diwali is festival of light. When I looked at what they were doing, it's for like 4 days. There is a prescribed thing that they have to do every day for those 4 days. I was shocked. Then I began to ask, where is our own festival? And that is why they've been able to keep their culture.
No, our own festival is Christianity. It's Christmas. It's what is it? Christmas. What's the other one? Christmas. How do you guys say that in English? Pack. I don't know how you guys say pack in English. Easter. That's our own. If there was no church, Africans would just be as lost. Like, I don't know. African people are really lost. We have so much to do. We are lost. We have so much culture. We have so much history that we can create our own like celebration whenever, even define our own functioning unity. We can find something that's gonna unite us. It doesn't even have to be around a church. Just like the man is saying, Indian people have that festival, that, and they have to create like a physical location or place where they meet to have the event. And that's what brings people together. In the African community, it has to be the church. But everybody is not Christian though. So if you're not a Christian, you're left out. When Indian people are doing it around something that unites all of them, it includes everybody, no matter what you believe in. So if tomorrow someone was to come saying that, oh, you know what, I'm the person that wrote the Bible and I lied to you. Really, the Bible is not real. If that person were to come back and say this that will dismiss everything that Africans are believing in when it comes to like Christianity and church and Bible and all that. And then we will be lost. There will be nothing else that will hold us together.
Their children produce a predictable result because that thing is a system. So they have institutionalized parenting template with clear national values that governs their outcome. Now, we do emotion and raw material intelligence. They do systems intelligence. I'm going to break that down a little bit further, sometimes very soon. Now, we have ineffective power and command center scripted to compete against our peers and breed distrust. And you can see that in our mannerism. We compete against ourselves. Even in our prayer, we do not do a collective prayer. So see the prayers we pray. This week is your week. We don't say this week is our week. What that means is I do not care if all other children perish. As long as my child is fine, I can testify. Right? So we have a culture where we leave ourselves behind. Meanwhile, others, no child is safe until every child becomes safe.
Exactly.
They have effective power and command centers built on super and peer synergy model. Now, follow me. I am going on a journey. So here are 4 questions we must first like to answer. Number 1, who taught you about parenting? Every time I've asked, and you can answer in the chat box, right? Who taught you about parenting? You know that your parent taught you. Who taught your parents? Their parents' parents. Who taught the parents' parents? Parents. Right. The person that taught all of us was someone who was hunting for Dane gun. I'm a squirrel with a Dane gun, sometimes many, many years ago. Now, number 2 question, in whose culture were you taught? Now, you were taught, if you were Yoruba, you were taught in the Yoruba culture. If you were taught in Swahili, you were taught in Swahili culture. Now, culture is the way of life of the people at every point in time. Now, what is the worldview of the people that created the culture? If the culture that taught you parenting is a culture that believes that a child is simply a cloth that covers you. That if you don't have a biological child, then you are naked, then that is faulty. And that takes me to number 3. What has been the report card of the culture that taught us about parenting? So when you look at global trends, they said they are going to Mars. Look at the day they said they were going to Mars. Did you see our culture there? Were we the ones leading those movements, right? In fact, many things we were saying when they were saying they were going to Mars, what we began to say is that they don't chop belly food. If these people are not food, they will not be thinking of going to Mars. That is how we talk. That is how we think. Because something has gone wrong with our identity. I did a bit of research to look at the past in Africa, and I was shocked that Benin City, for example, was one of the most developed cities between 1300 and 1700. How come that is not documented? How come that is not taught? I was shocked that Benin was a smart city, built a wall that lasted for 400 years, right? No, the day I taught teenagers in America, I taught African teenagers about Benin City. Everyone in class was crying. And you know why? They said nobody ever told them. Because parents in the diaspora don't know, for example, that America or Canada does not fully accept your child because it's black. But your child also does not know about Africa. So at the realm of their identity, there is an imbalance. They are floating. And that's why you see them get into drugs, get into all kinds of things, get into crime, because their identity is threatened and questioned, and they don't know who they are. Now, the challenge is many of us are parenting a new generation with an old parenting script. Now, you need to understand that between the time a child is born and the time the child becomes an adult, there is one thing that happens: handling or scripting. That R. Kelly is in jail. Everybody talks about he's in jail. He molested ladies. Yes, that's a fact. But who was R. Kelly as a child? His mother would leave him with 5 other women while she went to fend for him. While his mother was away, the 5 women would take turns to sleep with him and tell him not to tell anybody. Now, so this guy was already damaged as a child. The only friend they made was a 13-year-old girl. One day they were walking and there was a flood that swept the girl away. So there was pain inside this guy. There was an imbalance in his emotion. With the benefit of hindsight, if you listen to many of his songs, they were actually cry for help. So he's singing, "The storm is over, I believe I can fly, trapped in the closet." They were plea for help, but we did not hear him simply because he was so good at what he was doing. Now, the imbalance in the gap that was not covered within him was what made him to begin to gravitate and began to molest people and messed up a whole lot of people. We need to understand that if we don't properly script our children, creating a framework that can produce the outcome we want, because parenting is an 18-year curriculum. What happens from age 19 is your report card. The problem is the axe is blunt. So King Solomon says, if the axe is blunt and one doesn't sharpen the edge, then he must use much strength. He said, but skill brings success. Skill brings success. Skill means processed talent. What that simply means is you need to work your talent and turn it into skill. So nobody can prep effective parenting into himself. You need to study, you need to observe, you need to build framework. The template of the old cannot create the future. And if we don't embrace new rules, we'll keep replicating the old. So let me tell you something that happened. Research. Many years ago, I noticed that around Lagos, there were several prayer meetings opening up called Destiny Recovery Prayer Meeting for Firstborn Children. So I began to ask them if I could come to those meetings and run a survey. Many of them turned me down, except one. They said, "Praise, come and run your survey." So I went there. I asked them, why do you do Destiny Prayer Recovery for firstborn children? They said, because they've noticed that the firstborn children don't turn out right. And so they're doing Destiny Recovery Prayer. Then I ran a survey, and the first question we asked was, how many of you studied parenting before you raised your firstborn child? In the entire meeting, I think there were only 3 people. Now, so I now said, could it mean that the firstborn child is usually the specimen in the experimental lab of your parenting? So you use the firstborn child to learn parenting, that by the time the secondborn child comes, you have mastered a few things. But you know the specimen does not survive the experiment. So could it be that there is no demon that is stealing the destiny of the firstborn, that by your experiment, you damage the firstborn child, you put a lot of weight on his shoulder that crushed his identity, such that he became someone who doesn't know himself. We call that pseudo personality. Now, that is what many of us are doing because we have not taken time to study parenting. I mean, have you asked yourself, why does God give you 9 months to deliver a baby? In fact, I was reading an article and I saw that some of the Jewish mothers, when they get pregnant, they go and hire a further maths teacher. They will be learning further maths because they believe as they are learning maths, the child inside of them is learning maths because precision is the language of engineering. They believe when the child masters numbers, he can take over everywhere he goes. I mean, these are things that nobody is talking to us about. So the future is about intentional scripting. What that means is you are a movie maker. You are writing a script. That script must produce a best-selling movie. Your child is that best-selling movie. But you know that you cannot retain yourself and shoot the movie. You need to get into character that is prescribed. So many people know who they want their children to be, but they don't know who they need to become for them to produce the child they want to produce. So we don't want to change, but we want to produce a result. It's not going to work. You need to change because parenting will change you. And that's the first protocol you need to understand. So who is a parent? Is a parent someone that can yell, impregnate somebody? Because many people say, I am a parent because I father that child. No, you can be a mobile spam bank, right? If you don't, parenting is not a title. It's a function that you need to fulfill before you are a parent, right? So you donated the semen, then on wedding day you disappeared. On wedding day, you now carry as your baby and you say you are the father. No, you are not the father. You are just a mobile spam bank that donated. You did insemination. The only difference is that you were not a spam bank that they went to. They saw you as a person, right? Or because you failed, you carry a pregnancy. If you didn't take care of the child, you may not be a mother. It's not someone that can yell. What is parenting? The word parenting is the word bring forth, one who brings forth. That's what it means. Now, so we said that the ultimate parent is that skilled scout that is able to spot the identity of the arrow in his quiver and intentionally groom and shoot in the direction of a predetermined target in a way that the arrow consistently solved the problem it was designed to solve in service to God and humanity. What that means is parenting has a threefold assignment: discovery, development, and deployment, which means your first protocol is, can I discover my child? Now, you cannot discover your child if your worldview is messed up. Now, if you can't interpret accurately, you will damage a child. For example, if I ask many of you here listening to me, how many of you have yelled at your child, or you have slapped your child, or you are beating your 5-year-old child for spilling water? Anybody here? You can type yes in the comment.
All African parents have done this. All African parents. I'm telling you, these people are emotional train wreck. Emotional train wreck. There's no reasoning with them. There's no arguing with them. There's nothing. Lazy parenting.
If you have done that, you beat a 5-year-old child, you slap him for spilling water. Right. Why did you do that? Spilling of water at 5, is it a bad behavior or an expected behavior? We all know it's an expected behavior, but you beat a 5-year-old for being a child. You know why you did it? That was what your parents also did to you. Interpretation. So the child spilled water. He's messed up spilled water. He didn't even mess up. He was trying to play. Maybe he went to a swimming pool. He saw that there was water and he was able to swim. He was trying to replicate the same process in the house. Or he saw you mop the house and he felt, oh, I can do what my mom is doing. Went to bring water and splashed it. You did not question him. You did not ask questions. You began to beat him. Why? Because it didn't go your way. So you beat a child for being a child because you were beaten for being a child. Then when your child grows up, he's going to beat his child for being a child. And you say it's generational cause. It's generational pattern, right? And so these are the problems. So this is the problem. When you give birth to a child, how did you feel when the child arrived? You were very excited. As you held that baby in your hand, did you say to that baby, when you clock 4, the beating I will give you, you did not say that. But why do you start yelling, cussing? You know what happened? You did not grow, or you did not understand the psychological change that is required at every milestone in the developmental stages of your child. So when your child sat down and could not walk or could not crawl, you were bothered. But when the child started crawling, you did not factor that once he starts crawling, he will start pulling things down. So he broke your plate and you were upset. You began to beat him. As if the child told himself, today, I'm going to break mommy's plate. Today, I'm going to destroy mommy's phone. No. Then when the child was crawling and he was not running, you were bothered. But you did not know that once a child starts running, there is no peace again in the house. So when he started running, the running became a problem to you. And to curtail his running, you started beating him. You started yelling. You are disturbed. I always say to people, if you know you cannot raise a child, don't bring a child into this world.
Yep.
Right? So when the child became a teenager, you did not know that.
You see, that's something so so important. In Africa, in the African culture, these people don't even think about like what it takes to raise a child. It's all about having the baby. I remember when I was still young. Well, I'm still young. When I was younger, I was like 24 or whatever. Everybody in my family was expecting me to be married and have children. And I was the type of person that had a very clear vision of what I wanted to be in life. But we have this preset notion, like preset pattern in the family, where if you're like 20, if you're a woman, 20, 22, you have to be married. Like 24 is too old if you're not married. Who is going to marry you? You're getting old. You're not 20 years old anymore. Whatever. Yeah. Because marriage is something that they really value. And they value it for many reasons. I know there's some, like, our parents are very materialistic. Like, they want you to be married so that they have someone that's going to take care of them, like your husband. Because when you marry an African wife, you marry her and her family, basically. So it's kind of like another source of income when you get married. So they were all telling me all this, that okay, if you don't even find a husband, I want the child. I want you to have children because it's getting late. You might not have children. You might not grow too old. Have children. We're gonna raise that child. We're gonna take care of that child. They have no idea what it takes to raise a adjusted, healthy, and easily to adapt in societies child. They don't understand what it takes. They always think about the materialistic part of it, like providing for food, clothes, school, stuff like that. But when it comes to that child himself, like what kind of person are you trying to bring into this world? Have you thought about what it takes to really appropriately? Because one of that beating and that yelling at the child is also caused by your economic reason. You know, when you're in a poor family, these people don't have too much tolerance because they're already living a stressful life. They're thinking about how, wow, you broke that glass. It cost me so much money to buy that glass, and they slap you, bang. They're yelling at you. It's not good to bring a child in the world when that you cannot really, with love and care, take care of.
That as a teenager is a growing adult is going to be able to challenge everything you have ever taught him, because when a child is less than 3, he believes that my parents know everything. Between 4 to 6, he believes that my parents know a lot of things. From 7 to 9, he believes that my child knows, some things. From 10 to 12, he believes that my parents know a few things. From 13, teenage years, my parents know nothing, right? And so we said that you cannot be a child teacher without first of all becoming their student. So can you discover your child? If you walk into a room and you have a 12-year-old, 2 legs to the wall, sleeping at 2 a.m., how will you describe that behavior? If your description of that behavior is that your child has done witches and he has gone for meeting, it means that the people who schooled you, who mentored you, were the arbiters, the Kotoye, the Ayamatangas, and the funny things that we loaded our brain with when we were growing up. Your default should be, can I be curious to ask, why is my child sleeping like this? Is this a new sleeping style? Can you try to learn? But we do not do that. So if you can't discover, how do you develop a child? If you can't develop a child, how do you deploy a child? And let me say this carefully. Your child is not a compensation for what you couldn't achieve in your life when you were growing up. So don't make your child into a compensation. Number two, your child is not a retirement benefit when you grow old, right?
Typical African parent. Oh my God, this video was so good. So good. This is what I always talk about. That's how our African parents think. I wish people like Mike and other Nigerian guy were here so that they can dispute this. Because when I talk about these things, people get on me. People start arguing. All that because they grow up not learning how to question and challenge things. They just accept things the way they are. We have so much to do.
You need to raise your child without losing yourself. Because if you lose yourself, that your child will give to you in your old age is not cast in stone. What your child must bring must be honor, not necessarily what you want to live with for the rest, because you might become bitter if your child does not bring what you're expecting him to bring. And I don't want you to live your life in bitterness.
Yep.
So don't lose yourself. Plan
Yes.
for your future. If your child now
Yeah.
brings, it is honor. Right. So discovery, development, and deployment. Those are the threefold assignment of parenting. But there is a challenge. You are raising a new generation. That generation is called Generation Z and Generation Alpha. I always say to parents humorously that is the generation that God has sent to question us about everything our parents got away with. They will question you, everything you are doing. One day my son said, Daddy, we pray about God in this house. Can you bring God down? Now let me take a selfie to go and show my friends in school. Now, how do you respond to that question? Right? Because I couldn't even ask my parents those questions. One day we're teaching about love in the Bible. And my son asked a question. He said, Daddy, you say God is a God of love. Why did he tell Moses to go and kill an entire village? I was trying to remember what we are trying to think of what to say to him. Then he said, if we are members of that village and they killed us, would we say God is good? And he said, these people that they killed now, where will they go, to heaven or hell? These are questions because the games they are playing is a fast thinking game. So they are thinking faster than we are thinking. So if you do not understand them, you are going to get into trouble, because loud and bold is the new right in their world, but the strategy system is often the winner. So while they are bold, while they are loud, you need to become very strategic to win. So who are Generation Z and Generation Alpha? I don't want to bore you with pictures. I'm going to tell you 4 things you need to know about them. Number 1, their identity is not defined in their quest for truth. They are very open-minded and they love to express individual truth. That's why in Nigeria, they are called Sorosoke. Now, you need to respond to them by managing perspective to the power of questioning. Why do you think like this? And how do you think like this? Don't say, shut up, keep quiet. No, you can't keep them quiet, right? They will not keep quiet. So you need to engage them and be able to try to understand using question. We call it the stealth system. You bypass conscious resistance, ask them questions to lead them back to the right values. Number 2, they are radically inclusive and connecting to different truths. They understand everyone's style. That's why they are digital natives. They don't know the difference between gay, straight, this, that. They are brought together by internet. So what you need to do before they are 12, you need to blow them into an intentional tribal ideology that is built on love, equality, and fairness, but leave room for respect for others. That's what I'm going to say to you, mothers. The future wives for this Generation Z are not the domesticated wives who are going to sit at home and say, Daddy, breakfast is ready, lunch is ready. So better teach your boy child how to cook, or else he will struggle in the future, right? So put the girl child and the boy child in the kitchen. My 2 children, a boy and a girl, both of them cook. They started cooking since they were 6, right? So we don't have to bother about many things right now because they can do it. So don't say something is women's job, something is male's job. No, they must be free to dream and become anything they want to be. Number 3, fewer confrontations and more dialogue. They seek to understand different truths. So change must come from dialogue. You can't slap your truth and wish their truth away. What that means is they want to be part of the conversation about, what vacation, where are we going to go vacation? You can't just say we are going to Hawaii. No, they need to be part of it. They want to be part of conversations around what food do we eat in this house. When I was growing up, my father's appetite determined what we ate. That's why one of the food you can't find in my house right now is pap. I used to love pap, But you know, my father made us, we drank pap like 3 times every or 4 times every week. So I always say to my children that the pap for the rest of my generation, I drank it while growing up because that was my father's favorite food, right? So you need to sit with them, and because let me tell you about them. Whatever they are not part of, they will not champion it. In fact, they will sabotage it. So you want to dialogue with them. What do you think? And I'll make you laugh. Before we got married, because I'm in the family life space, so I understand how to build family system. Myself and my wife, we created a family vision, our family values. You know, we had our DNA creed and everything. One day, I think last year, I went to Canada to visit, and my daughter said, "Oh, Dad, we need to have a family meeting." I said, "What's the family meeting about?" He said, "This vision that you have," he said, "this vision was created before we were born. Now that we have grown, can we make input and adjustment on this your family vision so that it can also incorporate our collective desires?" You know, myself and my wife looked at ourselves and said, "Okay, no problem. So what do you want?" So we had to sit down and rebuild the entire process, rebuild the entire family constitution, you know, and we looked at it and they said, "Okay, now this reflects what we want." Now, I couldn't have that conversation with my father. In fact, I could only sit with I started seeing my father when he was 60, right? I couldn't, to go and talk to my father, you need to do sign of the cross, right? But that is Generation Z and Alpha for you. If I didn't know that, I would have been fighting them. Number 4.
Okay, what these guys just explained about the vision, like the vision board and whatever, it kind of like remind me why Africa is so dysfunctional. Really, if we want to be more successful, we're gonna start like having a good family functioning unit. To be honest with you, what he just described just brought an idea in my mind. Like the whole country, like our individual country, is so dysfunctional because of the same reason. You know, vision board does not include, does not reflect the intention or maybe the goal for everyone. Like only it, even in our own family, there's so much discrimination. Oh my God. Even in the nuclear family unit, there's so much discrimination. There's so much damage that we do unknowingly. Even like African people, like I said, they like to compare their children. Our parent, without even knowing, creates conflict among their children by um putting this one against the other one, that one. Like it creates resentment that you cannot even express in the family. If somebody is here and if somebody is African here, can you please agree or disagree with me? Can you tell me if you understand what I'm talking about? I'm saying that in our family, African family unit, because our parents sometimes don't understand the the effects of the thing that they do or they say or they tell us, we kind of suffer from it, and really and never have the opportunity to talk about it. We get compared. It's typical in a family unit to be compared to other children or other children's friends or other children in the neighborhood and stuff like that. It creates a conflict, like an internal resentment in certain children, and it creates that dysfunction sometimes. You know, on the surface we appear as if we are all together, we are all unified, we are all, but it's not the case. It's not the case. It's just because people cannot express themselves. I wish we can really be allowed to express our feeling without like being scared of repercussion and stuff like that. A lot of things will come out. Just like this man is saying, our vision board is not inclusive usually of everyone wishes, because they only take into consideration the people that matters. Meaning sometimes the people, like, you know, being an elder is so important in our community. They only take into consideration the elders, but that maybe the children that are older and the parents maybe. And on the national level, it's the same thing. You know, the tribe that is in power, only it's taken into consideration when it comes to like vision, goals, and whatever of the country. not everybody feels included. It's so important that when we define goals and mission and all that, that everybody feels part of it. Everybody has a sense of belonging. I think all that is kind of like taught in the family unit. That's how you should shape your children's mind to become a very good leaders tomorrow, to be inclusive, to take in other people's like feeling into consideration. In Africa, it's always about who has the most power. And power depends on, it can be related to financial it can be financial, it can be relational, it can be who you are, who you related to. That's what I'm trying to say. So yeah, what the men does define is very true. It's very true. We don't always think about like making things reflects everybody's needs.
They are realistically pragmatic, looking for truth behind all things, and not giving to stuff that can be proven. That is why if they ask you questions if you don't know, tell them can I get back to you. Don't just open your mouth to answer, because they will check Google. In fact, most of the time, the question they ask you, they already researched it. They are just coming to check your intelligence. And if you mess up, they'll just be laughing at you that this person doesn't know so much. That is why you need to show clear-cut results and enjoy their quest for research and ability to question all things. So here is the problem. Generation Z, it is in search of who they truly are in the midst of all sorts of contradicting information that is easily accessible online, which makes them come across as a misbehaving generation. You need to pity them. When you were growing up, there was no internet. Before you can have access to pornography, you will need to skim and travel everywhere, right? Except if your elderly ones are the KB Super or the Bella and Lulu and Lolly and funny things that we're reading way back. But for them, at a click, they can see nude pictures. They don't even plan to see it, but they will say, right? So their identity is being consistently challenged. And that is why every time my son does something I don't approve of, the first question I ask him is, David, who are you? Who are you? I do that all the time because I know that the world out there is making them question their identity. Your job is to restore them back to their identity and reinforce who they are. The moment your child can master his identity and is comfortable in his identity, your job is done. If you can't achieve that, you're going to be in trouble because it will look for something to meet the gap that exists in him. So we say that every misbehavior is either a non-discovery of self or a non-remembrance of self. When you understand it, you will ensure that the child's identity and esteem is not compromised. So here are the battle lines. Every successful race is powered by intentional system, while others are powered by emotion. As Africans, we are majorly powered by emotion, but we now need to do what is right about us. We need to place it on a system that makes it replicable. So here are the 4 battle lines. 1 is identity. Who do we say we are, and what does that mean exactly? We need to have a clear-cut identity. What are the variant agenda that we have? What is the lack of intentional articulated identity? So there's gross identity crisis. So what we are doing right now, for example, in diaspora, we are setting up villages. I mean, we set up a village in Brampton, in Ontario, and I'm glad one person from that village is contesting election right now, right? So we're setting up villages. We are helping the, African parents. We created an entire curriculum for 6 years to warehouse and help them raise their children while they are busy, kind of, right? We're doing all those things. So identity, your child must have a sense of identity. Number 2, a sense of history. What is our heritage? Your child needs a sense of heritage. When they say Black history in America, who do they teach them? They don't teach them about Dudua. They don't teach them about Mandela. They teach them about Martin Luther King and some of the other people, right? So your child is likely not going to know anything. In fact, if your child lives in Africa, he may not even know your history. You need to state your heritage. What stories are we telling ourselves and telling our children? I always tell them, you are the best that happens everywhere you go. So don't bow your head for anyone. Speak your mind. Your skin is not a demerit, right? It's the content of your character that will matter. And that is the way I live my life. Number 3, the village system. Where is the supporting villages? We need to break ourselves into groups. And we said that it takes a child to raise a village. It takes a village to raise a child. It's an African adage. We only need to now build a system around it by saying that your child is my child. For example, if I was misbehaving, Mommy Funke can come into order and say, Praise, go and sit down. I will not argue with her. If she says to me, Praise, I think you need to sit down and not hold the mic for 6 months, I'm going to listen to her. The problem is everybody has now outgrown the village. Everybody is now a law to themselves. And that has become a major demerit where nobody reports to anybody. Everybody is a law. So if somebody who is older than you talks to you based on the irresponsible behavior you have done, you broke away from that person and go and join someone else. And that other person accepted you. When we were growing up in Africa, it was the village that raised us, which meant other people's parents can correct your behavior. I don't know. Suddenly, nobody can correct anybody anymore. You say, I can live my life anyhow. And that is part of the problems we are having. Where is the parenting template? We don't have it. And the last one there is the mission. Why are we here? What does success mean to us? And who do we represent? These are critical questions we need to answer. Now, how do we position? So I'm going to begin to show you the solution, and I'll just show you about 5 things, and then we will be done. Maybe I can take questions. If not, we will be done for today. What must we do, and how do we position? The best of the old templates is our present report card. So what you see in Africa today, all our things say our family system is good. There's everything we say we have done is where we are right now. The question is, look at all the African countries. Do you like what you see? Right? So when I hear parents say to me, you want to, Oyibo, they messed up their children. Oyibo have messed up their children, but it's the Oyibo place that we are now, isn't it? Right? Because we need to check ourselves. If something has not worked, if it has not produced the result we desire, let us be honest with ourselves and say this has not produced the result that we desire. Because when we say, as a child, you can't look up to adults and look straight at them in the face. What is in the adult face that we can't see? Is that not why people were molested? How they were molested? So how do we position, and what do we need to do? Number 1 is what we call personal heritage audit, PHA. Every parent listening to me right now, you need to do a personal heritage audit. Now, I can't break this down, because again, when I run a masterclass, this is an entire 2-hour class, this particular slide. Now, but this is the easiest way to do it. Number 1, what is common in your heritage, right? If you take a look back at your upbringing, at your great-grandfather, there is a pattern. Are you from a heritage of pioneers? Are you from a heritage of connectors? Are you from a heritage of managers? Are you from a heritage of marketers? You need to answer and profile that and put it on a system, because that same belief or behavior is in your child. Number 2, what could have been that wasn't with you and what went wrong? So we call that patterning. You need to check your history. Who were you from age 5, from age 10, from age 12? What are your pain points? Because traumatized people pass trauma to other people. So many of us, what manifests as yelling, as shouting, was the trauma we were subjected to. In fact, sometimes your child is playing and you suddenly say, go, just go and get serious. Your child's play is reminding you of the play life took away from you when you were growing. And so the only way to respond is to respond in anger. So what could have been that was with you? You need to do robot analysis. What is our parenting alignment charter? Let me explain that a little bit. If you and your husband, let's say you're married, if I ask you what is your parenting charter and you don't have, or you have separate ones, you are likely going to damage your child. So if you are, a permissive parent, right, and your husband is something else, it means you have PDP and APC in your house, or you have Republican and Democrat in your house. What begins to happen is the children look for the person who is soft. When they want to get away with anything, they go to that person because they know this other person. Unconsciously, they begin to attach hatred to the person who says no and love to the person who says yes. When they grow older, they will think that other person loves them and the other person hates them. So you need to come together. If your child says, Mommy, can I have chocolate? You ask, have you asked your daddy? I say, I asked that. Daddy says no. So I have said no. Right? That is how to do it. Then what virus exists that must never be passed on? Those are your pain points. If you can pass on poverty, you can pass on yelling, you can pass on shouting, screaming. Those are things you can pass to people. right? And that is why consistently we are passing all kinds of things to the younger generation subliminally, unconsciously. You know, I was sharing somewhere, I think yesterday, I was talking to a couple and I was saying to them that many of us have developed patterns that we don't even know where it came from. So you see somebody who says, I'm an introvert. He does not know that it was because the potential that he has was not given expression based on how he was raised, and is what has conscripted him to become an introvert. But all his life is going to live another person's life and think he's an introvert. Meanwhile, it was the handlers that conditioned him to become an introvert. So you need to check, are there pain points in you? And how do you know? If you see someone around you succeed and you begin to feel bad about the person, and you begin to say she doesn't deserve it, that's a clear indicator that you have esteem issue and you have insecurity issue. If you hold on to something and you don't want anybody to share it with you, that's another clear point that something is wrong. If you are always feeling wherever you go of covering things up, of pretending to be who you are not, is a clear indicator that your identity does not exist. You need to get help, because the tribe that takes out time to install this will rule the world. Number two, you need to understand what we call child discovery and road mapping matrix. What does that mean? You need to observe your child. Your child will be sending you signal from the time your child is born. That is why from ages 0 to 3, you do not take a position. Ages 0 to 3 is observation. You are interpreting what your child is sending. I'll give you an example. When my son was 3, he started a crèche. So they invited me over. They said that my son was destructive. Immediately I said, no, my son is not destructive. And they said, so I said, why did you say this? He said, when he comes to school, he collects the pencil of his friends and he breaks them. So I said to the teacher, I said, have you observed what he's doing with those pencils before he breaks them? He said, hey, we'll just be eating the table with the pencil. He said, that's it. I said, no, that's not destructive. That's a boy playing instrument. He's playing drums with their pencil. Unfortunately, he breaks. I said, well, you were going to label him. So now the same boy rose and became a leader, a band leader in his school, right? And so sometimes the teachers are not always right. The other time, another teacher said, oh, my daughter stole something. I said, my children cannot steal. She doesn't steal. I said, okay, so what happened? Said that she goes to a talk shop and take biscuits. And so I said, how does she take it? Does she hide to go and take it? He said, no, that she they even see her when she takes it, the friends that she likes, she will give them. The ones she doesn't like, she will not give them. I said, that's not a thief. So by the time I went there, she said to me, that place looks like our fridge. I just go there, I take whatever I want to take. I said, that's not a thief. Unfortunately, many children have been labeled and their parents have reinforced that labeling. Death and life is in the power of the tongue. Those that love it shall eat the fruit thereof. So they've called your child a thief. You didn't even investigate. Because even when they say your child is a liar, the psychology behind lie is that I do not trust your ability to take my truth. So to protect you from pain and to protect me from pain, let me tell a lie to you. That is why it's called narrative management. So you need to observe your child. Number two, you need to create what we call a perceptual code. Perceptual code says every child in this family is dash. What is that dash? For example, we say in my family, every child is a royalty. What does that mean? It means we cannot yell on royalties. We cannot scream on royalties. We don't slap royalties. We have conversations, right? So if anything goes wrong, I say, David, who are you? He says the royalties. So the royalties do this, right? Because we always overrate. My mother never beat me. My mother spoke to me. When I was smoking in school, nobody preached me to drop cigarette. It was my mother's voice that came to me to say, if your mother comes to school now and she sees you with a cigarette, what's she going to do? I said, she's going to die, right? I said, you want to die? No. That was last time I spoke. So we overrate beating because behavioral problem needs a behavioral solution. It does not respond to beating and shout. They are beating things who went back to steal again. So perceptual code. Who is a child in this family? If you say every child is a royalty, then the question is, who must we become to raise royalty? How do you correct royalty? How do you raise royalty? How do you groom royalties? That is a lot of work. We have to go and learn it. We have to learn how we operate in the palace. We have to master all those things, right? Number three, child scripting using users manual elicitation. I can't even talk about that. I hope some of you are registered for the users manual class because if you do it for yourself, then you'll be able to do it for your child. Now, ferocious curiosity preservation using the student approach. whatever your child is doing, you need to be a student, right? You need to be a student to your child to better understand it. If you come with the arrogance of a teacher, you will miss many things, right? And so if you don't master your child user's manual, your child is at risk. And why your child needs a user's manual is because people are coming to live with you. So every time my children, when they were in Nigeria, we go to grandma's place, I know my mom watches African Magic. We don't watch African Magic. So we say to her, please, you are not going to watch African Magic as long as they're there. She said, yes, I agree, right? When we noticed that some of the cartoon networks were showing things that we didn't approve of, we moved them to National Geographic. So they started learning about animals, right? You need to be on top of your game. Child discovery matter. And that's why in the last 1 year, what we've done is to create an entire curriculum that a lot of, so parents send their children to us every Saturday, ages 8 to 18, from Nigeria to diaspora. And what we do with them is we have mentors online who are skilled on how to help your child discover themselves. So we are teaching them our own curriculum because many of the curriculums they are having access to does not promote their own wellness, right? And so you need to do child discovery and road mapping matrix. So if you say every child in my family is dash, what is your response to that dash? It can be diplomat, it can be world changer, it can be an ambassador, it can be solution provider, but whatever answer you give is going to structure how your home is run, it's going to structure the systems you put in place, is going to determine who you need to become. And that's where the work is. You cannot say you are raising a royalty and you are like Shango, you begin to shout. No, if you are raising a royalty, then you have to be the king's father or the king's mother. And you know what that means? You will need to change. Now, and that takes me to number 3. But so I was talking about what we do. So you can do the scan code and then join our classes. We are in the 3rd semester already. There are 3 semesters in a year for the Ready for Life class. We do 3 semesters in a year, 13 weeks with your children. So you can send your children, their ages 8 to 18. They can join into that class. But that's a responsibility we have taken in the diaspora to raise African children in the diaspora. The Nigerian version also runs simultaneously, right? So you can join that. Now, number 3 is what is called, you need to research, embrace, and replicate the template that works. We call that aggressive parenting education. So you need to observe. There are people who have done it right. You see, you can copy if you copy the right thing. There's nothing wrong with copying, right? If Mommy Funke is succeeding at something, I can copy, right? But I now need to acknowledge that I copied from her. There's nothing wrong with copying. I think it's arrogance for us to think that, nobody can teach you anything. So you find out what has worked. How did it work? Why did it work? How can you replicate it? And there's what we call the forerunner analysis. Now, in that, when they asked Elon Musk's mother, how did you raise this boy? Now, I've done that research. There were things she said. She said that when Elon Musk was born with his brothers, because if you say she succeeded alone with Elon Musk, that could have been an accidental success, but she did with 3 children. She said that when they were born, she scripted how she wants them raised because she was going through domestic violence. So she said, number 1, become a value-adding heritage to give option. You know what that means? She's from Canada. Elon Musk is from South Africa. So the fact that she had a Canadian passport was an advantage when Elon Musk needed to leave South Africa because his father said he must stay in South Africa. Now, it was that Canadian passport that eventually took him to America, and the rest is history. So have a value-adding heritage. Number 2, put them to work at an early age, but don't take away their play. So they started working early. My children distribute papers. They were earning, my son, the first time he earned $20. I said to him, Dad, let's go for ice cream. And, he said, oh, Dad, let's go. And I said, but you're going to pay today. You know what he said to me? He said, Dad, I literally died to earn $20. Why would I want to spend it on ice cream? You know what? He has mastered how money works, right? So from that moment, if you gave him money, he knew what to do with it, right? Number 3, let them find their play within their work. Foster entrepreneurship. Of course, you can see what they have become. Treat them like adults without stealing their childhood. Teach independence. Let them follow their interests. Don't impose your interest on your child. Don't get them used to luxury. Promote resourcefulness, right? And so she taught them contentment and let them take responsibility for their own future, encourage fearlessness, and create the right environment. This was how the template to use to raise these children. You can do the same. And that takes me to number 4. Create the new village tribal ideology setting. See, guys, I can't overemphasize it. This is the real work And I wish I had time to take you through this one, because it will require you to change everything you have been doing. You need to set your own, create system that can promote the best interest of your child. So you are going to be answering the question, who are we? That's family governance. Within the family governance system, you are creating your family vision, your family values. You are creating what we call the DNA creed of your family. You are creating the legends of your family. It's almost as if you are building a new nation, right? Then you are finding what are the gaps that exist. Then number 3, who must we become? Let me tell you, I used to shout, but I no longer shout on anybody anymore, because I understood that my child is the seed. Any behavior I find that I don't approve of is a weed. Weed are unwanted plants. You don't just attack the plant, you attack the weed. And you need to do it carefully, or else you can uproot the child while uprooting the weed. So I don't throw tantrums. Everything I see is a feedback to me, so I never get angry. So my son was telling someone, he said, my dad never gets angry over anything. So we have conversations, and that changes me. So what gaps exist? Who must you become? That is so critical. Then what new culture must we create? That is called your domestic educational system. I'm in America, my children are in Canada, but I have created a curriculum called the Royalty. Every day, 6 a.m., they are taking that curriculum, right? Every evening, we are reviewing. So what did you learn about this person? Oh, I learned about Mike Tyson, what he didn't do right. So how would we ensure that we don't replicate this, and blah, blah, blah. I designed the curriculum. So parenting is full-time work.
Yep.
It's not emotion. Don't just go and pray.
That's why Africans are so emotional. Even our men, they are so emotional. So emotional. They cannot sustain a conversation in which you don't agree with them. They basically just get upset so easily. It baffles me. Like, I don't know. And then these people gonna be like, oh, women are emotional, when themselves they cannot even handle their own emotion. They were not taught how to problem solve, how to approach disagreement, and how to work together. Like when it comes to like not agreeing on something, how to like get to where we understand each other without getting upset. I see men on this panel taking things so personal. St. James, I don't know how you come by. So personal, everything makes them upset. They cry over little stuff because no one taught them how to sit down and have a conversation. We don't have to agree, but we have to respect each other's opinion without whining over it. So yeah.
You say, okay, let me pour out on your head. Your child will turn out right. Yes, prayer works, but work is also prayer. So you need to create your own educational system within your family that can promote the best interest of your child. The school will do their part, but the school cannot produce your child for you. So others have created a new village. We must learn to create our own new village as Africans, right? And so if you are available, right, I run the parenting class, in North America in November. For 4 weeks, I'm going to be in class. If you can sign up, that will help you. The Nigerian version is going on as we talk. But these are 9 systems that you must build in your family. 1, your governance system. 2, your communication system. 3, your recreation and entertainment system. 4, your domestic management system. Your economic system. Your educational system. You need to also build your security system, your family health and wellness system. See, when I took a group of family health students, it took me 11 months
I think we got enough.
I think
we got enough from this.
Install this. We are tracking their results right now. That's why, see.
I think we got enough. We got the point. We got what I was trying to communicate here. We have seen from this video how much we have to do as African when it comes to raising our children. Our children is not our properties. We don't own our children. Our children are going to be grown and become people on their own, and we have to think about that when we kind of like parenting. It's not about how we feel and how we want things to go. It's about what we want them to become. It's about the vision that we have for them as a parent. And I know as a parent, as an adult, all of us know what it is to be a good person, and what is it to how am I gonna say, like, to adjust, easily adjust in society. We as an adult can see the issues that we have and the lack that we have from our own parents, the way our own parents raised us. The thing is that a lot of African people, unfortunately, have taken that kind of parenting as the Africans' way. That's what they say. They say that's the Africans' way. That's the African culture, which is not true. If Africans has failed us, our parents has failed us, it's not a reason for us to fail our children. We have to do better. And like the men say, we have to raise our children with a goal of seeing them expand, conquer, of seeing them have the willingness to change their reality, their condition, to think big. Basically, everybody is doing it. Every other group of people are raising children that are going to be leaders tomorrow. No one wants their children to be followers. Only Africans are conditioning their children to always be followers. What did you say, Mike? Mamiza is learning how to be a good mommy. You did not. I'm sure you missed the majority of this life. If you say that, that means you do not understand. The men say exactly what I've been telling you guys about Nigerians. Like Nigerians, you guys brag about being the most educated people in the diaspora or whatever. The men told you your education is not translating into power. It's sad. Your education is not doing nothing for you. If your education, if you're gonna brag about Nigerians being the most educated people, group of immigrants, just to be working for other people, I'm sad for you. That is not what I want for my I mean, I would be even happy that we're not the most educated group of people in the world. Because what is the point of being the most educated people in the world, and then Nigeria looks the way it looks? It's sad. Something is wrong. There's a rift somewhere. There's something that did not turn out right. And that is the education I always talk about. Something did not turn out correctly. Something is missing. Nigerian cannot be educated and not use that education to empower themselves. Nigerians are not powerful. They are not. They might have all the education they want to, but they're still not powerful. They're not doing nothing. Okay, Mike. I was talking about you earlier here. I'm like, Mike and St. James, you have a very narrow way of seeing things. When I talk about stuff, you're gonna come over here and talk about what you have, what your tribe have. And that proved the point of the man that I was talking, of the guy that was doing the expose. Is that how you call it? No, it's not expose. Sometimes I get my French and English mixed up. Sorry. He was the speaker, you know. He was saying that your knowledge, even if you own your own business, right? You're still not powerful. It takes a lot of us to be powerful. It doesn't take one or two people to be powerful. No, we're talking about the community. We're not talking about individual. If what your business is not making Nigerians and Africans as a whole powerful, you have no power, Mike. You have no power. You can't even own all the business you want to, but you still have no power. You only have power over yourself, but you have power over nobody else. But meanwhile, other people have power over you because of that. That's the strategic power that African people lack. They don't have that because they're not intentional. You know, they're not thinking big. What the man was saying is that other group of people, when they're raising their children, they have an agenda, an agenda for conquest, for changing, for innovating, for changing the world, for claiming their portion of the world. That's called power, and that's what African people like. You can have all the PhD you want to in Nigeria, but Nigeria is still in shambles. That's a shame. That's a shame. No Nigerian can say anything to me. Like, I can even listen to anybody from any other country in Africa, but not Nigerian. You guys just gonna impress Americans, but you guys cannot impress me because Nigeria is a shithole country. It's a trash hole, and I'm going to Nigeria next year. I'm gonna go to Nigeria next year. When I'm getting to Nigeria, I'm gonna I'm just gonna film. Wait and see. I'm gonna bring you pictures of Nigeria, and I'm gonna even just vlog basically on Nigeria. You're gonna see how long you can be in Nigeria without having any light, like power, electricity. How is an economy gonna grow? And you guys gonna be like, oh, Nigeria has the largest economy in Africa. It doesn't matter. Where is it? And Nigeria is not even halfway. I mean, how am I gonna say? Halfway where it's supposed to be. So if Nigeria is the largest economy in Africa, that really tells us how miserable Africa is. What about South Africa? South Africa, we know why South Africa is where it is. Don't even let me start on South Africa. Musanda, we know why South Africa is where it is. I know if I start talking about it, you're going to start arguing. If it wasn't for the European in South Africa would be exactly where other African country is. It's not a mystery. We know. So South Africa will be exactly where other African country is. Musanda, I'm going to show you something. Now that you're here, let me pull up something. I came across something yesterday on the internet. It was so funny. It wasn't even funny. I mean, it was enlightening. You know, nobody can. Mike, you cannot tell me anything about Nigeria. I like Nigerian people. To me, I look at Nigeria like a defeated country and defeated people. Nigeria is so sad to me because to me, Nigeria should have been like the United States. I expect Nigeria to be the United States of Africa. I expect Nigeria to be the model, like everybody can use the template of Nigeria, and because the nature, like God, our African God gave Nigeria everything. God gave you guys smartest people on over there in Africa. Smart, hardworking. Like Nigerian people have so much drive. We have a whole neighborhood in Cameroon. It's Nigerians. I mean, the girls, if you want to have money, right? Go in Cameroon and date in Nigeria. That's how, I mean, that's the culture over there. When you have a Niger, you don't suffer for anything. That Niger will take care of you like nobody else. So the girls compete to get a Niger. Nigeria in my country, they sell a motor vehicle parts. They have big shop of parts. They have big shop of material, like sewing material, like clothes, all those things. They are so driven, but because we are messed up in the head, because we are damaged, we cannot see the bigger picture. It's always about me, my village, my family, my neighbor, my. We will never. That's the that's the devil. I mean, that's the evil in us. African people have evil in them. They're possessed basically, because the moment you only think about yourself, you're not gonna develop your community. And Nigeria is gonna look like it looks now. No Nigerian can say nothing. I don't even care about Nigerian that has a private jet. You having a private jet that you still have to land in Nigeria and still have to get in the car and drive in those muddy roads, those dusty roads to get to your house, to get to your mansion that you built somewhere. It's like building a house in the trash can. That's what I see. Even those people that want to go to Nigeria and like show the picture of like Banana Island and Lagos or whatever, where it's a little bit clean. It's a shame. Show the majority of the country. Show the majority of the country. Show the everyday life of the average Nigerian. Show the everyday life of someone that's nobody, that someone that's just normally hardworking, going to work 8 to 5, going home to his children. He doesn't have to be rich. He's not privileged to be from a good family. Show those people. That's who I want to see. How their life is, what the opportunity that Nigeria offered them. It doesn't offer them nothing. So you cannot tell me anything about Nigeria, a country that doesn't take care of their people. Their people, a country that still have a mentality of stealing from their people and dumping into other peoples that already have a better economy. That's a sick mentality, and no one is gonna tell. The only country in Africa that would tell me anything is the country that has succeeded at resolving that kind of issue, because that issue is a self-hate issue. People that's gonna go brag in someone else's country from being the most educated, the smartest, that is not something that I consider. Go to Nigeria and be smart in Nigeria and come up with a solution to all your craziness in Nigeria, to allow a baby that is born in a modest family to have the same opportunity like the child that's born in a rich family. When we get to that junction, I will value Nigeria. I don't care Nigerians that are here in the United States doing big things. I work in the hospital. A lot of the doctors I work with are Nigerians. If they are not Indians, they are Nigerians. And I say the same thing to them. We have a doctor that is so on demand. He is so good. He's a Nigerian. I think his name is Oluwole or whatever. He is the best GI doctor in the whole hospital. Like, to get to his clinic, you have to make an appointment for, I don't know, a year before you can see him. Like, he's the best of the best. He's Nigerian, and I believe he's Yoruba. And that's what I tell him all the time. I'm like, you over here saving people's life, when in Nigeria, people are just dying from treatable, like not even something as important as like maybe a bowel cancer or anything like that. Not something even like that. Let's just say somebody with something like what? H. pylori. It's just a bacteria that eats your stomach. It can be treated very easily, but people would die from something like that in Nigeria. Okay? And he's here. He tells me all the time, if Nigeria knew how to value us, we would not have any problem. Even if it's to work in United States 6 months and then go to Nigeria 6 months, he would do it. He tells me that. But no, Nanja people, go impress Americans. You cannot impress me. Nope. I'd rather deal even with Gambia. I would value Gambia more than Nigeria. Nigerian is like, nope. When I look at Nigeria, it makes me sad, because if Nigeria cannot get it together, Cameroon will not get it together. Gambia is not going to get it together. Chad is not going to get it together. Let's not even speak about like French Francophone country, because this country are still under France. Like, France will not even, I don't even know that if Cameroon decide to do like Ghana, it will work in Cameroon, because to even allow, to even like put a policy in place in Cameroon, Macron has to sign it. Basically. I'm not literally, like seriously. It looks like they have to go ask Macron. Oh, Macron, is it? Can we extend? They have to go ask Macron. They will go ask Macron. Macron, please, can we extend invitation to our to the African American to come to Cameroon? These people have to go ask for permission. Okay, I'm gonna send you the link. Listen, Freedom Holocaust. I always tell the truth. That's why my channel is Mamize's Honesty. If you want the truth on something, come ask me. I will tell you. I have no shame. There's no shame in my game. I will tell you guys the truth. We are a failure and we are mentally ill. When African Americans come here on YouTube and talk about the issue, you'll be seeing Africans say, hey, in Africa, it's like this, it's like that. Don't believe none of it. That is before, that's like 20 years ago, 25 years ago. The more we are in contact with foreign country or maybe with the West, the more damage we become. I really believe that if we can retrieve, okay, we will even find a common interest in us. But as long as we are all like looking at the West, it distracts us from looking at each other and see common. What is talking? Something is. Ah, it's here. It's my phone. The more we look at the West, the less we. My internet. Okay, whatever. So the more we look at the West, the more we are distracted from ourselves. You know, we don't look at our interest because we are distracted. We are looking elsewhere. We're looking the opposite direction. I'm sure that if we can really close, I mean, like it start with the media. If first of all they're supposed to even ban social media in Africa, to be honest with you guys. They have to ban Facebook, Instagram. Instagram is the worst because Instagram is so depressing. Nothing is more depressing like Instagram. Facebook is even better because I mean Instagram just like show you an alternative way. People don't tell the truth. They make everything look so beautiful in their life. And every time Africans are scrolling on Instagram, all they see is these people, other Africans that are in the West living the how do you say life of luxury, and they're all pretty because they use filters and make believes. And those Africans are so depressed. They're ready to do everything and anything to leave their country. It distracts them from their reality. These people are not thinking about how can I change it right now where I am. They're living a life of illusion. So if the African government was a responsible government, was a government that really doing their job, they would ban Instagram, ban Facebook, ban Snapchat, ban, they will leave YouTube maybe. Yeah. Let me read comments here. So no Nigerian cannot say anything to me ever. I'd rather go to Gambia than living in Nigeria. Oh, somebody say South Africa went from 34% mostly white access to electricity to 92%. That's good. But we know why South Africa but we know why South Africa was able to to grow that much when it comes to access to electricity. We know why. You guys have the European in your country. That's why I have an uncle that is so adamant when it comes to like European. My uncle always saying that him and I we fight so much because of his one view. He tells me that it would be better for European to come back to Africa, to recolonize Africa, because Africans will never get it right. That's what he tells me. And he is very serious when it comes to that. That's his opinion. And he's serious. He said African people would never get it, because that's not how the African mind works. An African person cannot see beyond themselves. I don't believe the same. I don't believe so. I believe that if we change the way we educating our children, that will create a new generation with new vision, different way of thinking. But anyway, you can own a mine in South Africa without having 40% equity to Black individuals. South African can get all for 80 for just existing. I don't even know what that means. What about Cameroon? Don't you all speak French in your village? Nigeria at least has a central bank. You guys like having poor debates. At least Nigeria have this. At least Nigeria had that. I don't want to hear about at least. I just want to hear about Nigeria has it together. Tell me about that. Tell me Nigeria has it together, and I will respect Nigeria. At least. I don't want the least. I want the whole damn thing. Or Nigeria gets it together, or he doesn't. Nigeria has everything. Nigeria has the human capital. Nigeria has the resources. Nigeria has everything. Nigeria has land mass. Nigeria, when you go to Nigeria and you're flying from Lagos to, like you fly everywhere in Nigeria. In my country, you don't even have to fly. Nigeria is so big, you have to fly from one corner to another one. So they have land mass. They have the sea. They're not landlocked. Nigeria has like everything. They have beaches. They have coastline. They have the people. What else do Nigeria need to get it together? The only thing that's lacking in Nigeria is the mind. It's the mind. So what about Cameroon? Oh yeah, I already read that. When I'm talking about Nigeria, you guys come talk about Cameroon. If Nigeria doesn't get it together, how come Cameroon is gonna get it together? I'm telling you, Francophone country has double issue. They have friends that is holding them like this. And then they have like whatever other problem other people have. So those countries are Nigeria problem, it's overpopulation, so they don't have money to give the people. When it wasn't overpopulated, what did they do? You have to plan overpopulation, okay? You cannot just live a life without planning and then start blaming overpopulation. What did they do when it wasn't populated? So greeting, Mommy says, greeting to you. So he should be in Nigeria working for free. No, Mike, he shouldn't be in Nigeria working for free. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that if Nigeria had it together, he wouldn't even be in the United States working. You are telling the truth. Of course, I know I'm telling the truth. Damn, my internet bit slow. But Southern Africa is definitely better. Look at Zimbabwe. Well, they are better because they have a white population. That's what I keep telling you, Musanda. It doesn't matter. They have a European population that's helping them. That's pulling them up. That's putting the country up, not the people. Don't get it twisted. Make a topic on Cameroon specific. I dare you. What do you want me to talk about when it comes to Cameroon? Tell me what you want me to tell you about Cameroon. I will tell you. I will make a topic about Cameroon. No, you build more abortion clinic like South Africa. Stable population help on develop. I don't think so. It depends on how you use your population. China was overpopulated. They still succeed. What you talking about, Musanda? You guys like to go around, look at every little thing that's gonna. You guys look at every little excuses. When you're a smart person, you overcome your challenges no matter what. That's what I believe in. I don't want it, all the conditions that do not have to be met for you to succeed. I am a firm believer of finding solution for your problem. It might not be the best solution at the moment, but you have to start somewhere. And when it comes to Africa and African country, it's not the case. These people don't even work on solution. These people are not even working on solution. It's not like they're looking for solution, because if they were, they would go everywhere. They even have African American that are ready to come over there, help them design and write their policy. Not even African American, Nigerian themselves. They are Nigerian in the Western world that are willing to bring back to Nigeria their skills. They volunteer. But this mentally ill government official will not allow it, because they're working for someone else. They have no vision. Same thing with Japan and Singapore. A stable population is easier. We don't care about easier. It doesn't matter if it's easy or hard. We just want to know if it's possible. We're not looking for easier. Okay? We're not looking for easy. We're looking for possibility. Is it possible? There's a lot of stuff I have done in my life that wasn't easy, but I have to get it done. We're not looking for easy. So that's not an excuse. You're going to find all the excuse in the book, Musanda. So Nigerian people, go brag somewhere else. I really hate when I go to Nigeria and there's no electricity. Nothing irritates me more than that. When we like, a lot of Cameroonian kind of like envy Nigeria and all that, and they even use Nigeria as a reference when they're talking bad about Cameroon. And I keep telling them, use any other country in Africa. Don't talk about Nigeria, a country that doesn't have electricity and water. Oh my God. No way. Use another country. Don't talk about Nigeria, please. Even that dusty Ghana, I would rather deal with dusty Ghana with dirt road everywhere. A country that's even inviting like Westerner to come to their country, but they don't have the common sense, the basic common sense to at least create a better infrastructure. What do you invite people for? Why are you inviting people in Ghana for? It's like your house is dirty and you're inviting your friends to come over and have dinner. Nonsense. They don't even know what's important. What's important is for you to clean your house first. Musanda, you're talking about population, right? You're talking about population. That you can, it depends on how you look at things. You can look at it from a positive angle. A population, if you have, and the population of Africa is young. A lot of people are under 25. So that can be utilized into like a workforce, you know, even just cleaning those streets. They can employ young people that are like 25 and below to clean the streets, just like in Uganda, in Kigali. They can do so. They can invite those people, pay them cheap labor, and they're gonna clean those streets like nobody else. But no, all you want to think about, you have to think about the negative of a population. Nigeria is huge. I don't even think that Nigeria is overpopulated. It's just because they have a useless, mentally ill government. That's as like everybody else in Africa, to be honest. I'm not talking about just Nigeria. But Nigeria has way too many resources to be the way it is. All they have to do, they can build social houses to people. They can create business for those people. They can relocate. You go to Lagos, it looks like, I don't even know how to describe Lagos. It's even hot over there so much. It is so hot in Lagos because everybody is so cramped in Lagos. Like, if they create roads, good roads that they maintain, Lagos will not have to be that overpopulated. They can go move back into the suburb, you know, create houses over there. All they have to do is to create road that access, create a good access. People gonna go build over there. Is it? I mean, it's not brain surgery. You don't need to. That's something very straightforward and easy to accomplish. It's not something that you have to. These people don't just think. They do not think beyond themselves. That's all. And that's what being smart for me is. If Nigerians are smart, they have to find solution for the problem. You cannot be smart and not find solution for your problem. So you guys have to stop claiming that you're smart, because you're not. You're dumb. You're dumb. Not only you dumb, you guys are weak. Weak-minded. You cannot find solution for basic problem. You're waiting for England to tell you what to do. That's a shame. What you saying, Musanda? Measure in kilometer square kilometer. What is that gonna do? It doesn't matter. Nigeria has a lot of land mass. Okay, a lot of people, because of poverty, right? They're leaving the village to come to the city, and then creating that chaos. It's overcrowded in Nigeria, in Lagos. Lagos is overcrowded. Go get a village that you can develop. Okay, you can create road access to everywhere. People on their own will go and build over there, and the congestion in the city will not be there anymore. You see here, United States, right? They have a Walmart every maybe 5 miles. No. This is the one I have around me. Is not even 5 miles from the other one. That is how you prevent congestion. Everybody being congested in one area. African people, basic thinking like that, they don't have. These people are low IQ. Like, I don't even think they're low IQ. I just think that these people are turned against themselves. So they are so happy to help other people than helping their own self. They don't think they deserve better. You know, I don't think let me see. I'm saying that both Nigeria and South Africa are a same in the landmass. Yet we are 1/4 of Nigeria. But so what? But your country is still empty, right? Nigeria the same. A lot of Nigerians are outside. We have a bunch of Nigerian in Cameroon. I'm telling you, there's a one neighborhood is just for Nanja. That's where girls go get Nanja men. Okay, so it doesn't matter. They haven't filled the country yet. The village is empty because everybody is leaving the village to go to the city. And if they are overpopulated, they are building that can be erected to house all these people. You see a country like Japan, there's no space in Japan anymore. Do you see the apartment? I have my best friend, she's Japanese. When we like how do you call it, when we FaceTime, her house is just so tiny like this. I'm like, what the hell? You can't even breathe in the house. And I'm like, look at it. How come your apartment? And in that apartment, guess what? She live with her mom. No. Her mom is dead. She live with her dad. She live with her brother. And she lives with herself and her 2 little children. In a small, tiny apartment like that. That's how Japan is. Because they all, like, there's no space. But in Nigeria, there's space. The villages are there. The villages are there. You have to think. You have to find solutions for your problem. You cannot always look at the challenges. Only a weak-minded person focuses on challenges. There's no challenges that you cannot overcome. Even if you cannot overcome it completely, at least you start somewhere. Okay? We got to change mentality. Oh my God, you are so obsessed with that population. Musanda, you say lower the population, improve your economy. Let me tell you something. How many people are in Gambia? Let's take Gambia. Prenons le cas de Gambia. How many people are in Gambia? How many people are in Gabon? Gabon, I believe Gabon is like 2 million. Let me see. I can Google it right now. Gabon population. Musanda, Gabon is 2,300,000 people in Gabon. The economy of Gabon is not good. It's not. How many people in Gambia? I think it's about 2 million still. Look at that dusty Gambia. Everything looks just so sad and destitute. When they show you the air view of Gambia, I mean, like, even like, I don't know. I don't even know why people choose to go to Gambia. Oh my God. It looks like some ghetto. It's 2 million. So what you gonna say about that? Musanda, tell me, what you gonna say about that? Gabon, Gambia. There's not many people over there, so I don't know what you're talking about. But is Gabon resources rich like South Africa? And you just talking in circle. Some country has no raw material, but they're still making it. you're gonna go from one reason to another one. So can I post a link in the chat if you want to? But that's not gonna do anything. Gabon is very rich in resources. That's why France doesn't want to let it go. They used to be so rich, even their population back in the days. I remember when Cameroonian people used to leave Cameroon to go to Gabon to make fortunes and come back. Yes, Gabon is. I don't know about Gambia. I don't know what Gambia has. I know they have beaches, and they have the people that they. Where's the link? I mean, with the link appear or be deleted by YouTube. I don't know. If you don't post it, I will not know. I found something very. Hold on. Musanda, I'm looking for something I wanted to show you. I found something here on YouTube. I cannot retrieve it. You know, every time when people talk about South Africa here, you guys get offended. I came across a debate that was held, I believe it was in 1960 or something like that. And it was very interesting. How can I even find it? A high school exchange, Nigeria. Oh, there we go. I think I found it. I'm going to show it to you. Black owned real estate in South Africa. I mean, with the link. Oh, the link. I cannot. There's no link over here. I don't see the link, Musanda. I don't know. Did you posted it in the comments? There's no link over here, but let me show you something. I came across this debate. It was so good.
Welcome to our forum discussion.
I loved it. Oh no. It's not. This is not the one. What did they?
This year, take the time to melt into your holiday moments with Lindor.
There, the recently uncolored debate on various topics like prejudice, education, and communism by Nigerian teens in 1950s America has from 1950s. And if you
Oh Lord, I don't know. High school debate, Nigeria, Ethiopia. Hold on. High school.
Are Americans prejudiced?
Let me show you something, Musanda. Watch this. How do I share this again? I always forget how to share. I think this is it. I came across this and it was so interesting.
The most certainly are. How could they be objective about African Negroes while they are prejudiced against American Negroes?
I disagree with you completely. I think that Americans are prejudiced for African natives and are very prejudiced against white people in Africa.
Well, I'm getting confused. How can Americans be for and against Africans at the same time? Well, if I say anything, I'm going to confuse you still more. As an Ethiopian, I'm prejudiced against both white people and Negroes.
Talk session are 4 high school students from 4 different countries in Africa. Let me introduce them to you now. Here is Amelia Day from the Gold Coast. Amelia is 18 years old. Here is Susan Rennie from the Union of South Africa. Susan is 17. Susan, those school uniforms, are they always that short? No, this is actually a dispensation. I'm a senior, but the other girls have to have them 3 inches above the knee. Very interesting study in native costumes. Thank you. Now let me introduce the boys, will you? Here are baby for tonight, 15-year-old Nestin Benega from Ethiopia, and 16-year-old Boniface Opakaja from Nigeria. Now, let's start out by asking you, what some of your own prejudices are. How about you, Amelia? Have you got any prejudices, say, against the Nigerians?
Yeah, I have my own set of prejudice against the Nigerians. Coming from the Gold Coast, where there are many Nigerians, I think that I sometimes look down on the Nigerians as somewhat inferior to us. Because you see, the Nigerians who come to the Gold Coast are mostly beggars. So that's my opinion about the Nigerians.
This is funny. I don't see how you have a case against for this your proposition, or I say for this your stand. Actually, personally,
When I listen to this debate again, like confirm everything as always say about the Africans today. Like these children were so smart for their age. They were so smart. This is my favorite person, the Nigerian guy. He is so smart. Like he is so intelligent. I'm just like, why people like him are not our leaders? I don't even know, where did it go? I'm always struggling with this. I have to research it again. Bye. Hmm. Okay, I'm gonna have to find it again. Sorry, guys. Prejudice, part one.
personally, I look.
Okay. I have to find it. I found it again. I accidentally closed the window. Share. I have to share that. I don't know, the internet is a little bit slow. What is that? Oh, the internet is slow. Sorry. Why wasn't he ever president? That's what I'm saying, Jem Joel. I'm like, this guy is so smart. My son showed me that yesterday. He knows. He always tell me I'm way too. My son always say I am Afrocentric. He's like, you only like anything that pertain to Africa. I'm like, yeah, that's who I am. What do you want me? I know this internet is like against me. Oh, it's just turning and turning and turning and turning. I don't know.
I look towards the good.
Discussion. 4 high school students from 4 different countries in Africa. Let me introduce them to you now. Here is Amelia Day from the Gold Coast. Amelia is 18 years old. Here is Susan Rennie from the Union of South Africa. Susan is 17. Susan, those school uniforms, are they always that short?
No, this is actually a dispensation. I'm a senior, but the other girls have to have them 3 inches above the knee.
Very interesting study in native costumes. Thank you. Now let me introduce the boys, will you? Here, our baby for tonight, 15-year-old Nestin Venega from Ethiopia, and 16-year-old Boniface Opakaja from Nigeria. Now, let's start out by asking you what some of your own prejudices are. How about you, Amelia? Have you got any prejudices, say, against the Nigerians?
Yeah, I have my own personal prejudice against the Nigerians. Coming from the Gold Coast, where there are many Nigerians, I think that I sometimes look down on the Nigerians as somewhat inferior to us. Because you see, the Nigerians who come to the Gold Coast are mostly beggars. So that's my opinion about Nigerians.
This is funny. I don't see how you have a case against for this your proposition, or I say for this your stand. Actually, personally, I look towards the Gold Coast not as inferiors, but perhaps as people that are individualistic, are not working towards the communal effort, towards the welfare of the nation. They, of course, have made great strides because they are a very small country, and yet you have all these differences in their country.
Nesbin, how about your prejudices? You admitted to several at the beginning.
Well, as I told you before, we have also our own prejudices against the African Negroes. We consider them as inferiors. We have, of course, our own reasons for saying so.
Well, what are they, Nesbin?
Well, first thing, we consider ourselves to be of the lost tribe of Israel and not Negroes. It's only that our faces are burned that we look like Negroes. And also, we've been ruling part of Africa for hundreds of years during the 16th century, and we ruled part of Egypt, Sudan, and as far down as Mozambique.
Well, what about your prejudices against white men?
Well, back home, if a woman marries a white man, she is considered mean, and when she dies, the priests never pray for her as they would do for any ordinary man. It's just considered as suicide.
Why do you think they look down on the white people so much?
Well, for the first reason, religiously they consider them unclean in heart because they eat pork, and that's prohibited in religion.
Susan, you got any prejudices?
Oh, I think I've got some pretty large prejudices. I think I'm very prejudiced against the foreign press, particularly the American press, because I've come up against a lot of discrimination myself while I've been here. As a South African, everywhere I go, particularly in the schools, at the moment I mention that I'm from South Africa, I'm discriminated against in the sense that, well, the picture in South Africa, the situation has been so badly distorted and so exaggerated because racial news is sensational news. And so journalists have so distorted the picture in South Africa that when I come over here, I'm looked down upon. And I've really felt this discrimination. I haven't been treated as just an individual and a human being. And I feel that the press is responsible for this.
Well, I've been wanting to ask you a question for a long time. When we all came here, you just took to me. You like me very much, I can see, and I like you. But I know you are a South African, and I'm an African. But why is it that out here you are very friendly towards me, but down in South Africa, you don't do the same towards the Negroes that are living there? Can you tell me?
Well, it's the whole setup. I mean, South Africa, we have a pattern of life which is different to any other country in the world. Because you have the white population, and which came to the country in 1652, and they are much more highly developed, coming from Europe with European backgrounds and traditions, and they have developed the country and have developed
Oh, I have to answer you. Musanda, you said what's the point of watching a 1957 interview? It was amazing. Like it was just so, it's so important. Seriously, I have never seen South Africa from the viewpoint of the young lady. Those things that she was saying, I did not know that. I did not know that white people in South Africa say that the black, like the African people, are the people that invaded them. That's what this young lady was saying from what I heard yesterday when I was watching this. That was like a new perspective to things. I did not know that because she had a completely different viewpoint when it comes to South Africa.
A highly civilized community, whereas the Negroes, the Bantu as we call them in Africa, in South Africa, is primitive, on a very primitive level. And the barrier in South Africa isn't so much color as civilization and economically.
Excuse me, on that point, we get into a very, very tense ground recently. You talked about this question of it not being a racial struggle, but a struggle of civilization. Well, personally, you see, I sympathize with your situation because I couldn't live in a country, your economic position, and perhaps your future well-being as a nation might be in danger if you allow the strong-hearted, driving Africans to take over the government. That is, of course, what will happen if they're given the vote. Nonetheless, let us come now to that basic issue of racial segregation. I hear this honorable gentleman from Ethiopia. I think it's high time Ethiopians come to the side where exactly they are. I usually wonder, are you Negroes? You are not Negroes. You say you are not Negroes. Are you white? You're not white. What are you?
Well, I told you the answer. We are not Negroes. We are one of the lost tribes of Israel. It's just because our faces are burned that we look like
I
Negroes.
got the point, you are lost. I think that makes a conclusive answer.
I'm wondering if Susan and Meston have something very much in common. Neither one of you admit you're Africans, and yet both of you live in Africa and have for generations and generations.
Well, I won't say that we naturally, because we're a different ethnical group, we're not Africans in the sense that the Negroes and other groups have actually originated in Africa. But I consider South Africa my homeland and my fatherland, and I always will. And there is a misconception that exists. Most people think that the white settlers came to South Africa and took the land from people who oh no, it is not, and I'll prove it to you. Who came to South Africa and took it away as the whites came here to America and took it away from the indigenous occupants. In 1652, when the first white settlers arrived at the Cape, the Bantu, as they are now known, the Negroes in South Africa, were still coming down from equatorial Africa, migrating. And it's a fact that they had not yet entered what is now known as South Africa, the borders of South Africa. The only indigenous occupants in Africa, South Africa at that time, were the Bushmen. And they were exterminated by the Bantu coming down.
Susan, on that point, I think you've read your history upside down.
How come?
Yes, you see, the example that happened was that these Dutch men, I think they were Dutch men, they haven't got a place in their homeland.
Oh no,
means
I
of
can
living.
just
Let
prove,
me finish.
all right, and then I can prove you how wrong your historical facts are.
Oh no, you know, your history is South African history. Mine is a bipartisan history. Well, this man came without any means of livelihood in their own country, with the economic background without any meaning at all. They came to South Africa. And the real fact is that as they came and there was an influx of these Dutch people from their unwanted homes, as there was an influx, the Bantus tended, they were pushing the Bantus up into the country, till came the Zulu War, in which the Zulus were finally defeated in the most bitter and agonizing struggle they had against this African. Yes.
I don't know where you get your historical facts from. I really
I
don't.
get my historical fact from, I think, is it Mr. Trevelyan is in British history.
Oh,
That's far
Mr.
better
George
than.
Trevelyan knows nothing then, and I'll say that. Because it so happens that these penniless whites, as you call them, didn't come out because they didn't have homes or because of any kind of persecution. They were sent out as officials of the Dutch East India Company to establish a refreshment station for ships passing around passing around the bottom of the Cape. Just as the Dutch settlers were sent out to America by the Dutch West India Company to settle and to make a refreshment station here. Now, I think if you had to turn around to the Dutch settlers who came out and said that they came out because they were penniless, they'd be just as indignant as I am. And as you say that the white settlers came and pushed the Bantu back,
Yes.
It's a fact that the whites
It's a fact. I got the point now. It's a fact.
into the interior of
Go on.
Africa and didn't come into contact never even saw a Bantu until 1795, which was practically 100 years, more than 100 years after they had arrived in South Africa.
How did you have the Zulu War? What brought it about?
The Zulus had already, by the time, I think you must have a look at a map. Zululand is very far from the Cape where these people arrived. And in 100 years, within 100 years, after the arrival of the white settlers, the Zulus had by that time, the Zulus are a part of the Bantu group, had already come down to Natal. And then you got the two groups, the one coming from the north, the one coming from the south, and they met. And that's where you get the Zulu War.
It was not even a clash in the sense you are taking it. It was even the British.
It was a clash.
The British in their benevolence, or in fact in their, because they've seen the facts that this thing is not good, they even were exercising a tempering force upon the people.
Boniface, just to make things more complicated for you and Susan, I've heard a third interpretation of this, which might settle it. That was the fact that the Bantu were a migratory people. And that it may be true that at some point when the whites came in, there weren't any Bantus there because they were migrating somewhere else. But look, this is all past history now. I'd like to hear something from Mesfin and Amelia on their interpretation of South African history, but almost rather, let's bring it up to the present, can't we?
Yes, we bring it up.
Well, come back just a minute, Sue, to your violent prejudices against the press because they're misrepresenting what goes on in South Africa. Do you want to clarify that a bit?
Yes, I would.
Will you?
No. Well, I know one outstanding example of misrepresentation. We read in an American, I think it was a magazine, I won't give the name, although I could very easily. This journalist quoted Dr. D.F. Malan, who is an ex-Prime Minister of South Africa, as saying, and I quote, "The Negro does not need a home. He can sleep under a tree." Well, not only is this absolutely fictitious, but he forgot to mention the fact that brick and concrete trees, known to most people as houses, are costing thousands, millions of dollars of the white taxpayers' money annually.
What did you say? I didn't get the point. Said what houses?
Well, you see, this journalist said that Dr.
Yes,
Malan,
I got that point. You say what houses costing the government millions of dollars?
I
What
said
houses?
concrete and brick and cement houses for the Bantu peoples.
But these are the Bantus that are working for you in the factories. How did you get the money? They got the money, they mined the gold, got the gold, and you sold the gold outside. You got the money and you say the money is yours.
Of course
You
it
can't do
is.
that. That's a contradiction,
Look,
please.
we came along, we bought the machinery, we developed the mines.
From where did you get the machinery from the mines in Johannesburg? Do you own the
No,
mines?
we got our
Who owns the
machinery.
mines?
We got our machinery from Great Britain,
Who
from
owns
the
it?
money that was picked, which was got for the diamonds and
How did you get the diamonds out of the ground?
Donated labor there.
How did you get the diamonds out of the ground?
They weren't dug out of the ground. They were alluvial diamonds. No native labor there, my boy.
What do the natives do? You know what, Suzanne, one point you must get right down to the crux of the matter is that in this country, the Africans are really the backbone of your economy. And it is one of that cases where you get this question of man's inhumanity to man. And every day you come here to complain about misrepresentation in the American press. In the actual matter of fact, the American press is giving a fairly good view of the whole situation because they have a color problem themselves.
Have you been to South Africa?
I wouldn't even pay a penny to go there.
Well, then,
That's
how can you
sure.
talk? How can you talk?
Because I have the facts. People who come in there, get people no means of living. How can I go there? I want a house, I want a home, I want position in society.
Well, look, they're getting it. They're getting
let's
exactly what they want.
I'd love to hear from Amelia and Mesfin what their picture, if their picture of South Africa is the same as Boniface's here.
It should be the same. Wait.
Well, coming from Africa myself, and naturally, I would be a little embittered against the whites in South Africa because from what we hear, they are mistreating the Africans there. But personally, I have no preconceived ideas against the whites because, frankly, I haven't been there, and you can't always trust what you hear from people or what you read from the press. So I have no solid facts about South African problems.
Actually, I myself am against the South Africans because I mean the white people in the South Africa. Because in whose house can one come and take away
They haven't
the
taken away the land.
property? Because what they are doing now, the white people are mining and taking the property for themselves, and that's what they shouldn't do. Because the native people who are living there, they should have what is the property of theirs. Well, actually, before I came from Ethiopia, I was reading about this in the press, and they were pretty hot about it. They were against the white people. The same thing could happen to them, of course.
On this oppression business, if you say the Bantu in South Africa are oppressed, how do you account for this fact? That every year, regularly, hundreds of thousands of Bantu and Negroes from other territories adjoining South Africa, such as Portuguese, East Africa, etc., are invading our country illegally in spite of the law.
We've gone.
Are they coming for oppression? They know what goes on in South Africa, and they come back year and year again. Those who have worked in South Africa and have been sent back, come back. Are they coming back to seek oppression?
Your this does not answer what I'm driving at. The Africans have the land. They
Oh,
are
no,
there
they do
before
not
you.
have the land, and
They
they will
mine
not
the
dig
gold.
for it.
All right, wait a minute, Susan. Let me get my point straight before you go. They mine the lines. They get the diamonds. You sell the diamonds outside, and when you get the diamonds, you say they are not to be given their own fair share of the quota. Have you read "Cry of the Beloved Country"?
Yes, I have.
How?
It's a one-sided
Look,
view.
One-sided view, and it was written by an European. How could Europeans be having one-sided view about their own
They're
king and
radicals in
king?
every nation.
Radicals. You are radicals in South Africa, then.
Oh, no, we're not.
Look, Mesfin was just talking about, and all of you, about the importance of news about South Africa in the Gold Coast, in Nigeria, and in Ethiopia. I'm wondering whether news about racial problems in the United States also takes up a good deal of space in your countries. Does it in the Gold Coast?
Yes, very, because after all, the Negroes come from the Gold Coast, and we feel very badly about what the Americans are doing to our Negroes. I know that one of my ancestors probably came here too, and from what I hear in the Gold Coast, the Americans don't give the Negroes a fair chance of activities here. For instance, they don't give the Negroes the same education as they give their white Americans. And also, for instance, a Negro wouldn't be permitted to go to ride on the same bus with a white man. As for me, I don't think that color, which is purely a natural thing, can be such a great bar to human understanding. And I think America is a democratic nation, as it calls itself. But this one thing really doesn't show it all very well as a democratic country.
Amelia, you've been in the New York area for about a month now. Does the picture you had of America that you've just described correspond to what you've seen here in the schools and the communities you've been in?
Well, when I came up here, most of the people in New York told me that segregation is only practiced in the South, but in the North, they have now begun to have integration. Well, I didn't think much about it, but one day after school, I went to a restaurant with a friend of mine, and she's an English girl, and we sat there and waited to be served by a waiter. Well, the waiter just came around, looked at us and passed us and went around serving others who came in after us. Well, I knew at once what he was doing, but my friend didn't know it. So she walked up to the waiter and said, "Well, we've been waiting here so long, won't you serve us?" The waiter just looked at her hard and then looked back at me. And then I told the girl that we better leave the restaurant because I understood it. But the girl was shocked, but I wasn't surprised because that was what I was expecting to find. And
How about you, Mesfin?
Well, in my country,
No, I mean your experience with segregation here. Have you had any?
well, when I came to America, I was in Whitemore High School, and I went for a haircut in the city. I looked out for a barber shop. I went there, and they told me they were busy. I went to a second one. The same thing happened, and to a third one too.
How about Dwight Morrow? Are there any Negro students there?
Well, there are quite a lot of them. In fact, about 3/4 Negroes in the school. And they are well treated as the other white people, and I'm happy about it. In fact, one of the vice presidents of the school is a Negro himself, Linton Marsh.
How about you, Boniface? Have you met segregation at all here?
Have not met it. I think the most pretty lucky, because I've been looking forward to get the segregation against me, but have not got it yet. It's an irony that a South African will get it and I wouldn't get it myself.
Well, Susan really has felt some here. It's interesting that you're the only one who has not. Yes?
What are we after now? I think we'll come back to this question of I think it wasn't the United States racial problem. Well, I feel, of course, that the outlook here has continued to be better.
You do?
I do. But on the other hand, this racial segregation, which of course I do, and I'll always make that point clear, is an outcrop of insecurity in economic conditions, and also somehow low-pointed opinions and all that sort of thing.
Mike, do you know this guy, this Nigerian guy? Oh my God, he's awesome. He's one of the most smartest Africans. I don't know why people like him cannot be our leader. Anyway, they're not gonna let them be our leader because they know they cannot cross him. I mean, he was so on point. This guy is so smart, seriously. I was so impressed when I watched this yesterday. Oh. I wonder who he became later. There's somebody in the comment section that say it was his dad. I think it's a female. It was her dad and he passed away.
Provides other people with that same pretext by which they could criticize the United States. Asians and Africans can't understand why a country devoted to the greatest ideals of freedom and democratic government should as well discriminate among their citizens.
We didn't get to ask Sue whether in South Africa her newspapers play out racial news in America too.
Oh yes, they play that a great deal. Well, naturally we get all these stories about the riots at Clinton, Tennessee, and how they had to escort these people to school and bring out the National Guard and so on and so forth.
This is what I may interpret. I think there are more riots in the Johannesburg area and the Negro area than there are in Tennessee. Am I right, Susan?
Oh, there are a couple of
riots, yes.
No, I wouldn't say riots.
And wait a minute, in the Johannesburg area, you have only one telephone to the whole Negro population.
Oh, rubbish.
Yes.
Where do you get your facts from?
Facts from books written on countable times on South Africa.
Well, that's absolutely ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous.
Absolutely true.
I'll get this for you afterwards. There are not, I can
But let me finish
you.
my question. Let me finish my statement, please.
Now, why do people prejudice with so much ignorance?
One telephone in the whole Johannesburg district. Why? They don't want the Africans to have a means of communication by which they could rebel against the people. I'm speaking from facts. John Gunter wrote that.
That's absolutely ridiculous. And
ridiculous.
I think if you try and...
Oh, you didn't say it was wrong. It is ridiculous.
It's
not
wrong.
wrong.
It's wrong. It is wrong.
Ridiculous.
That is no fact.
If you have got your facts from one-sided...
it's not one-sided, Mesfin. It's not
one-sided. It should be, because what you've got is almost all what you've got.
All right.
I
can give you 4 concurrent. John Gunter wrote that. An African newspaper in Nigeria wrote that. A British paper wrote that. A Lebanese paper wrote that. All the world prejudiced against
Well, you can't so much criticize the country without actually going there and seeing what is happening, you see.
I don't need to go there. I told you I wouldn't be able to go there. How can I go there?
We have come to America and we are looking what they are doing in America. We might have got false ideas of America.
In America, the outlook has continued to be better. In South Africa, the outlook has continued to be worse.
As a matter of fact,
that exactly, Mesfin.
As a matter of fact, we are progressing.
Wait a minute, Susan. That exactly, Mesfin, is what, Susan, I think you better take care about this. When these Africans come to learn that they are really being discriminated, they're learning now. And when they rise, you know what has been imposed upon the people by law, or what has been suppressed when you get the people really suppressed. When they rise, they shall throw away that same government. And you are,
well, let me look. You've had your speak. I'm going to have mine now. It so happens that this apartheid, which you most probably have misinterpreted already.
No, you misinterpreted.
Just a minute. Let me speak. Is working towards a solution in South Africa, and it so happens that there will be no riots, nothing like that. This apartheid policy, which I will afterwards speak to you about, seeing I think there's only very little time, is working towards getting self-realization and self-rights for the black people within their own areas. And I think if you make a careful study of apartheid, you will see, and already they've started legislating in South Africa and spending vast sums of money. Within the next 20 years, we're going to have a solution to our problems.
I've spent 15 years learning it, and every day I become more prejudiced against South Africa. I don't need to spend a day more.
But I
And
think
for
you're getting your
instance,
facts from the wrong source.
not
That's all
from
I
the
can
wrong
say.
source, please. You're getting your facts from the government laid out principles and practices.
Well,
that
I
will create
live there.
separation
I
within
live
the
there. I
community.
ought to know.
I don't
You
want to
live
live there.
7,000 miles away. How can you
That's
know?
not better. I have a home, I have
Read-
a house, I
reading
can walk anywhere I
propaganda.
have.
Reading propaganda.
Unfortunately, our time is running out. I'm wondering if anybody's got a final word to say on the subject of prejudice, where they come from.
Yes, sir.
Nelson?
Folks, I understand I'm becoming an African, I suppose.
I think, Susan, I'm sure that government policies sometimes conflict because you and I get on so well together, and I'm sure that this time our governments are in the wrong. So if we get on together, I'm sure in the future they will try to understand each other better.
I think the important thing to consider is whether on the balance, the direction in which a nation is going is the right one. If two different, even contradictory opinions or points of views can be hospitable, it can be exist in hospitality in the United States.
You're talking about Amelia's point at the beginning now.
At the beginning, yes.
Yes, when she said that Americans, she was confused because they could be pro and anti at the same time.
Yes. Can have hospitality in the United States. This is progress. It may not be, it is not weakness.
The dynamism of
The
democracy that
dynamism
gives
of
hospitality
yes.
is 2 points of view. I'm sorry, that's all the time we've got. We'll be back again next.
All right, people. I just wanted to share this with you guys. I came across this yesterday. My son showed me that, and I really liked it. It opened my mind even more on South Africa and what happened there. You know, we don't even get taught the history of the continent. So really, all we know about South Africa is like whatever the media speaks on. We don't really know the history from the beginning. But anyway, I've been here 3 hours. Thank you so much, guys, for being here as usual. I think I'm out. Thank you. Bye bye. Have a wonderful day.